board.
Yep. I mean, every Monday now.
Yep.
Every Monday.
All the way till February. Yep. Settings on the mic. Every week I have to do the same exact thing. It's the same thing. Is that right? Yes, I did. And Thursday coming up. Yeah, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah, Better Social.
I don't know if I can do that. You need. Who else could you get?
Right now, nobody. How about now?
Check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
This is ridiculous. I don't understand. I mean, I plug it into the same.
And we are live on a Monday, live at Ocean Casino Resort's Fanatics Sportsbook. It's the first for me. You guys were here last week, Pete G.
That's right.
Of the Sports Bass, live on location. Football season must be back. If we're at Ocean Casino, you know it's bird season, baby. Eagles on Saturday. That was a snooze fest. You went to the game.
I was at that game.
You left early, though.
I left at halftime. It was too hot, man.
Wow.
It was brutally hot.
So Eagles Saturday, preseason observations coming up a little bit later on. Plus, the Eagles made a trade yesterday, and I got a lot of thoughts about the trade. That and what else we got on the docket today?
Wheels, man, wheels.
Some Phillies news that crossed the table yesterday, which was the unfortunate news, and I don't know really how the Phillies are going to bounce back from this one, where Zack Wheeler, obviously the blood clot, and I'll start off with this. I don't think Zack Wheeler's going to pitch again this year, and that's really secondary. You're looking at his health and safety and all that stuff
and
first.
His age too. I mean,
and you're just thinking to yourself, obviously he has to get healthy first and his family and all that stuff, but I just don't see a scenario where Zack Wheeler pitches again this year. The one thing that I can go back to is Dame Lillard. And Dame Lillard missed about a month with the Milwaukee Bucks. And he came back about a month later. He had a blood clot in his calf. And he missed about a month of games and came back to play in the playoffs for the Bucks. I think he missed game 1. Maybe he came back for game 2. And then he ended up tearing his Achilles because he, was not in shape and not ready to play. So he'll miss all this year. But obviously.
Now, Wemby, he had a blood clot in his shoulder. That's the same area that Wheeler has
and
his.
He was out the rest of the year. Now, that one's tough to diagnose because of this. Wembanyama's on a team that probably didn't care about winning all that much and could afford to keep him out because they didn't really need him to try to make a playoff push. The Bucks
right,
are
and he's
in a
only
situation.
21.
Right, I think
that. Yeah.
Now, listen, it could have been because he was not able to play the rest of the year. It could have been because they were just being precautionary. I don't know the Wemby stuff, mainly because of the team he was on. I think they had the ability to be a lot more cautious with him. The Phillies are in the situation of Dame Lillard, where they're obviously trying to win a championship here. So You would imagine he has to take blood thinners, and that starts the process. How long does that take? Shoulder versus calf. Does that matter in this situation? I'm no doctor. I don't know much about blood clots. I don't even think I've ever heard of a baseball. Now, somebody told me yesterday, David Cone, who pitched for the Yankees back in the mid-'90s, had a shoulder blood clot aneurysm situation and missed most of the season. But they found this in May, and he came back to pitch later on in the year. We're not in May. We're in August. Let's just say it's a full month from now, which I think is at a real aggressive timeline. That has you out until about September 18th. Now you've got about 2.5 weeks left to go in the season before you can, reach the playoffs. You're really asking a guy that has a blood clot. It's not like he can start doing things. It's not like he can have a bullpen session on the side here and start throwing.
He can't do anything.
He can't do anything. So even if he was out a month and then got cleared, he would probably have to do 2, 3.
Yeah, Nola did 3 rehab starts after his absence.
Nola did 3. Now, keep in mind, he was out a lot longer, but he did 3 rehab starts. I think the best case scenario is that Zack Wheeler is back maybe, for the division series. And I think you're then saying, what level of Zack Wheeler am I getting?
Yeah, he's not starting game 1 for me. That's for certain.
Exactly. Are you putting him on the mound and saying, hey, you've been our horse for the last 3 years. You've missed a full month and maybe longer. We're going to put you out on the mound. I don't see that happening. I don't see a scenario where Zack Wheeler helps this team out. Now, could he possibly, like if the Phillies make it to the division round and they win the division round and they make it to the NLCS, could he be an option at that point? Could he be an option in the World Series? I could possibly see him being an option later on in these playoffs, but I really don't see him being an option to help you get to the playoffs.
Really quick, Mike. So the detail about David Cone was, so in 1996, he actually ended up missing 4 months because he had to have vascular surgery. They actually found the blood clot a lot later than they found Wheeler's blood clot now. So back in 96, they were too late to find it. He had to have a special surgery where they actually didn't just take out the blood clot, but they expanded his vein.
Yeah, well, from the article that I read, and this is on the Yes Network, they looked back. It was like an article from 2021, and it was 25 years later, him looking back at this whole situation. That's how big of a deal this was, that 25 years later, they wrote a whole article about the season that he had in 96.
But he missed 4 months after the surgery.
Well, and one of the reasons that he ended up finally succumbing to the surgery was, he said in the article, that he was pitching, and after the games were over, his fingers would be like blue.
Blue, right.
And he was seeing, like, okay, I got a problem here. My fingers are blue. And then he said, like, he would pitch the next game. I guess he threw, like, a splitter or something, and he said he changed the grip so that he didn't have as much pressure because it was bothering him. The funny part about the article is he's talking about a game that he threw 147 pitches in. Can you imagine a guy throwing 147 pitches today? He had one game where he threw 127, 147, and, he was saying that, hey, one of my best starts that I had, I threw 127 pitches in this game when I changed the grip because my fingers were blue. I mean, think about that stuff. But here in this situation, I don't see a scenario where we see Zack Wheeler. I just don't see a scenario. Does anybody out there think, hey, man, you're being a little pessimistic here? Does anybody think Zack Wheeler will contribute to this team this season? I don't see it. We have a poll question up at Mike Gill Show. You can vote. Here are the topics, right? If Zack Wheeler can't return to pitch this season, can the Phillies win the World Series? We have 3 choices. Yes, they still have good pitching. No, they need that ace. They weren't winning with him. Those are your 3 options.
Well, can they? Yes. Of course they can. Can you make a case for it? I think so, but realistically, it might just be too much to overcome.
Like, is this news today on a Monday? You guys knew what happened. Now we're talking about it. Now, in hindsight, are you reflecting and saying, man, what a gut punch that is?
The only thing they have on their side right now is time. I mean, you mentioned the date, August 18th. It's still August. They still have time. We're not in September yet. They have a good cushion in the NL East. They have a good cushion to even make the playoffs. So,
Well, they're going to make the playoffs.
right, so that's on their side.
Yeah, they're going to make the
So
playoffs.
if you get in, that's all you can hope for.
I think it's a far-fetched possibility for them to catch the Brewers at this point. The Brewers just had a 14-game win streak, if you haven't been paying attention, snapped yesterday. I was watching that game. The Reds come back, they win that game. They snapped the Brewers' 14-game win streak. Right now, Philadelphia is like 7 games behind the Brewers for the best record.
Now, what about the Dodgers for that bye?
That's the one that you have to look at right now. Philadelphia's 5 games up on the Mets. Is everybody out there, is it a fait accompli to people that the Phillies are going to hold the Mets off? The Mets have been the
atrocious.
second worst team in the game since, a certain
the All-Star break.
I think
pretty
since
much?
they're like 12-35 since the All-Star break or whatever their record is. The only team worse than them over that same period has been the Nationals.
Oh, our good friends, the Nationals, you just took 2 of 4.
So the Nationals and the Mets have been the 2 worst teams in baseball over the last 50 games here, 45 games. At some point, do the Mets have to turn it around? Or we say, hey, the Mets have been so bad for so long, at some point they're going to have to start playing better baseball? Because, look, the Phillies had that little run while I was away.
Well, they
When
swept
I
Texas.
left-
You talking about when they swept Texas?
When I left, they were a game and a half up on the Mets. When I got back, they were 5 games up. So they obviously played pretty well while I was gone. And then when I got, the last 3 days, they lost those 3 games in a row. And here we are. They're 5 games up on the Mets. But keep in mind, the Phillies just lost Zack Wheeler. And this is where the baseball season gets you. You look at the calendar, you still got a whole nother month of September and another 2.5 weeks of August here. I mean, there's a lot to think about what can change between today and September 18th. And then from September 18th to the end of the year, there's a whole heck of a lot that can change in that time frame right there. You just think about all the things that have gone, like the Cubs at the trade deadline. Do you think the Cubs at the trade deadline thought on August 18th they were going to be 8 games back in the standings? Just think about the trade deadline was July 31st. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
And here they are, 8 games back. That's how fast things can change in baseball. And the Phillies, without Zack Wheeler now, this changes the dynamics of the whole rotation. I mean, if you look at the way the rotation was set up for the playoffs, if you get that divisional series, you have Wheeler in Game 1, you have Sanchez in Game 2, and I think there was a bye between Game 1 and Game 2. I got the schedule sent to me the other day. If you look at the division series schedule, I think it was set up where that Wheeler could have pitched twice in the series.
In 5 games,
and they don't have that opportunity anymore. You don't have that. And I think it was set up where Sanchez could have pitched twice in the series.
Right.
So that you would have only needed 3 pitchers, Wheeler twice and Sanchez twice, in the division series against whoever you end up playing against. It is. I don't know how you can look and put the only positive spin you could put on this would be, hey, if you get them back, it's gravy. And I think you're going into these playoffs the rest of this season. Is everybody on the same page as me? I'm going in right now and I'm saying,
well, is it white flag for you? I mean, is it that dire, or do you still give them a shot because they're going to make the playoffs? So do you give them a shot because they're going to make the playoffs?
Yeah, they got a shot.
But okay, so they can no longer win games 2-1 anymore, right? They're going to have to score runs. The bats are going to have to be the guys who step up.
Well, listen,
they can't win games 2-1 anymore.
Let me ask you and everybody out there this question. When you look at the Phillies right now, is the starting pitching still the strength of this team?
No.
You think something different is?
I think with the loss of Wheeler, and then you have to move up everybody. Sanchez becomes your de facto ace, which, he can be an ace, sure. But after that, it's Ranger who's been struggling. He pitches tonight, but he's been struggling. Luzardo He's so inconsistent. And Taijuan Walker, he's been great. He's really contributed this season. But
Are we at the point where we're wondering if Taijuan Walker is now going to pitch playoff games?
Yes.
Wow. Josh, where are you? Is the Phillies starting pitching still the strength of this team?
Only because of the fact that the hitters are the most inconsistent bunch of exasperating people in baseball.
So you think the Phillies pitching is still the strength of this team?
But
You're saying no.
because of the hitting, it's because, you know what I mean? It's the idea that just because you lost Wheeler doesn't make the bats any better.
Maybe
Hey,
it will. Maybe the guys will look at themselves in the mirror and
Well, that's
say,
kind of
hey,
pathetic then, is it? Like you needed your best
that's what
player
they're
to
up against. This is where we are, right?
So I needed a potentially life-altering injury to happen to somebody
Yes.
for these guys to wake up and realize that we're paying $500 million to go hit.
Because this is their window. I mean, this
Nick
is the year.
Castellanos had a home run yesterday because Zack Wheeler might be dying.
Well, Nick Castellanos hit a home run because he was facing a lefty.
Oh, okay. My bad.
And he doubled, by the way.
And he
doubled,
Castellanos,
off the wall.
Castellanos had the day of his life for had the day of the month anyway. After he was
Yeah, you left for 2.5 weeks, and Castellanos couldn't get a hit.
Castellanos got
A.J.
benched
Brown
twice.
hasn't practiced since you've been gone.
Well, we had Bob Wankel on the show Friday, and he gave us a stat or a comment, which is the WAR of Nick Castellanos. By that stat, he is the absolute worst player in all of baseball. By all players who qualify, Castellanos is the worst player in baseball right now. That's unbelievable. Since the All-Star break. Nick Castellanos has been statistically the worst player in all of baseball.
Well, on him, is he a platoon player now? Did we see that the first stages of it this past weekend where he was benched on Saturday? Not benched, but he didn't play on Saturday.
Well, they said it was a pre-planned day off. That's what they said. It was a pre-planned, and this is where you hear that. Okay, it was a pre-planned day off.
The guy was an Iron Man last year. He didn't get days off.
Well, they gave him a day off in Texas because they said the surface was tough.
Right.
Now I had heard some beat guys talking about this and said that they talked to the people in Texas and asked if they had ever heard that before from an opposing player, and they all said the Ranger beat writers and people said they had never heard someone needing a day off because the surface in Texas.
Yeah, was this Vet Stadium?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on.
So it's obvious that they are trying to dance around. They are trying to dance around what to do with Nick Castellanos. Now, him getting 2 hits the other day, one of them a home run, one of them a double, certainly helps the cause of trying to get him getting going. Now, some people would ask this question: do they need Nick Castellanos? So, in other words, do you have to play him in hope? And look, that's our best option. You just have to hope that Castellanos turns things around. Or are we at the point where we say, the heck with Nick Castellanos? You got to go and just platoon him, play Kepler against right-handers, and play Castellanos against left-handers. Put Bader in center field, Marsh and Wilson play left field. Is that what you do? I mean, obviously, those things all become secondary now to the fact that you don't have Zack Wheeler.
Well, what version of Nick Castellanos are we getting? Are we getting Sunday afternoon's version?
You know
or
what
are we
version
getting
of
the
Nick,
last 2.5
you
weeks?
know what version you're getting. You're getting the guy who's going to go insanely hot for 3-4 days, and then for 14 days he's going to be the worst hitter in baseball.
Correct.
That's what you're going to get. There is no in between. There's no consistency with him.
And that's why I'm saying to the previous question, the pitching is still the strength. Because once you get past Harper, Schwarber, Turner, and thank God Bohm returned yesterday. After you get past the top couple guys in this lineup, the rest of the lineup you're just like scared of.
Well, Pat in Ocean City brings up an interesting point. He says the Phillies are facing 3 straight right-handed starting pitchers. One of them tonight, Logan Gilbert, is really tough. This Mariners team is really good. They have really good pitching. So these are 3 straight right-handed pitchers. Gilbert's pitching tonight, right?
Yeah, Logan Gilbert.
Yeah, Logan Gilbert.
So you have 3 straight right-handed pitchers pitching tonight, and in the matchup tonight, the question would be, you got Sanchez versus Gilbert tonight. So
Suarez
versus Gilbert tonight. In the game tonight, Castellanos against a righty. Does he play all 3 games? Now, Pat in Ocean City says if Castellanos is starting in all 3 games, then Rob Zombie really has no guts when it comes to the player. If Pat had half a brain, he would have heard what they said the other day. This was a pre-planned day off. Where do you think a pre-planned day off comes from?
Not Thompson.
Do you think the manager has time to sit in his office and map out the entire schedule of what days guys are off and what days they're going to play, you idiots?
No.
Of course they don't. You think that the manager says, hey, I'm going to give him a pre-planned day off today?
Nope.
I love these people who are like, Thompson has no guts if he doesn't sit Nick Castellanos. He doesn't have the ability or the choice to play or sit Nick Castellanos. The general manager paid Nick Castellanos $20 million. We talked about it on Friday with Bob Wankel. And as Bob Wankel says, you know how hard it would be for the Phillies organization, forget Rob Thompson, to bench the $20 million guy and what the ramifications would be in that clubhouse if they sat him.
Well, we kind of saw a glimpse of it when he got pulled in Miami for defensive replacement. The whole thing blew up in his face, and Castellanos and that whole nonsense happened.
Well, it's
So,
because Castellanos
we saw clips of
is also an overgrown child being paid millions of dollars to play a kid's game, and he wants to be treated like he's special.
Well, listen, I mean, forget it.
But that's Gill's point.
This is everybody, though. This isn't just Nick Castellanos. You're going to walk up to Trey Turner and say, hey, man, this is the whole thing. You're making $30 million. Oh, by the way, you're going to center field. No. Us fans can sit here all we like and act like we can rule with an iron fist. When you get into that clubhouse and that guy's standing in front of you and you have to be the guy that says, hey, Nick, you're benched, and you have to deal with the repercussions of that, and then what happens to the rest of the clubhouse and the effects, the domino effects, we could be fans and say, we would do this. And then you get in the moment, I guarantee you, Pat in Ocean City and everybody else out there, you would never have the guts to bench Nick Castellanos. You would not have the guts to bench any of these guys making $20, $30 million. There is no way. And the organization, Dave Dombrowski, who paid him $20 million, says to Rob Thompson, we can't bench him. We cannot bench him. Now, he could try to slowly go through this process and try, and this is where the manager comes into play. What relationship does he have with Nick Castellanos? Can he say, hey, Nick, you're really struggling. We're going to start pulling you back a little bit. And the problem is you bring Castellanos back a little bit, the guy who takes his place has to then do something to justify pulling Castellanos out.
Or then his teammates will have Castellanos' back, no question.
And exactly. The teammates are saying, Castellanos is one of us. He is our guy. You can't just sit him and say, you're benched. That's not how it works in professional sports. I know it sounds like, hey, you got to bench this guy. Not one person, nobody listening to this show, nobody, period, would have the stones to sit a guy making $20 million. I know it sounds like, if I was in charge, I tell people this all the time. I coach 13-year-old kids, and sometimes it's hard telling the kid, hey, man, you're not playing today. And you see the look in your face, and you're like, they're not getting paid a dime.
Yeah.
They're not getting paid a dime for me to tell them that they're not playing. And you think I'm going to walk up to a $20 million player and say, hey, by the way, we don't even have an option better than you, and you're still benched. It's different if they had some hotshot rookie who was out there performing, and you're like, hey.
That guy's still in the minors. He's not coming up for some reason.
And that whole situation's another one. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Good luck. Get a good look at these Mariners. This could be your World Series matchup. I'd only start Casty versus lefties and righties. He's had success in the past. It's basically 60-40. Yeah, I mean, listen, this Mariners team is very good. They got very good pitching. Here's the problem with Castellanos. His splits do not justify him playing against left-handed pitching. Right? He's a right-handed hitter.
Right.
Which means he would only be playing less than half the time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Put it this way. If this was a straight platoon in right field right now, Castellanos would not play the whole series.
And he would not. Yeah, and he would not play tonight, even after what he did yesterday.
And then people would say, the guy hit a home run and a double last night. How do you not play Nick Castellanos? Well, if it's a right-handed pitcher, you would not see him. You would see Max Kepler. And I don't think you're going to do that. I don't think the Phillies are ready to do that. I don't think they're ready to shake up this clubhouse. And we talked to Bob Wankel about this on Friday's show. The Phillies organization is not ready to deal with the repercussions of what would happen if they either benched him or cut him. making $20 million next year. He's made $20 million again next year. You guys think it's so easy to walk up to a guy making $20 million and just say, hey, man, you're benched. And then he has to come back and play for you again next year. Because let me tell you something. You ain't getting a taker for him.
Either way, the days of him hitting behind Harper are over, right?
Well, he hasn't hit behind. That's been the problem with Nick Castellanos since he got here, Pete. He hasn't been able to be the guy that hit behind Harper. The entire time they signed him, he's had to hit fifth or sixth because he hasn't been able to hold up his end of the bargain and hit behind Harper. It's one of the biggest problems this team has had for the last 3 years. We keep saying they need a right-handed bat. They need a right-handed bat. They need a right-handed bat. Why do you need a right-handed bat? The one you signed for $20 million hasn't got the job done. That's why you need a right-handed bat. Wheeler, I got the poll question up. The text board's blowing up right now, 609-403-0973. Here's the poll question right now at Mike Gill Show. If Zack Wheeler can't return to pitch this season, can the Phillies still win the World Series? Vote at Mike Gill Show at 973 ESPN. We're just getting started at the Fanatics Sportsbook right here at Ocean Casino Resort. Place is jumping today. The weather's not great outside, so people are hanging out right here at the Fanatics Sportsbook. With us, the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN.
Yep. Not yet. Wait till.
Yeah.
All right. How about that?
Go ahead and talk.
1-2, 1-2.
Check.
This might deliver a lot of hay. Zipper.
There we go. Got it.
Sports Bash live here at Fanatics Sportsbook. So I just walked around Ocean for the first time since we were here last. You were here last week. You got the new Lascala's Fire down the hallway there.
Yeah, a lot of new restaurants here.
Yep, I went over to the bistro, took a little walk through there. They got the little 18-hole golf opening up here soon. So many new restaurants. But we are live at the Fanatics Sportsbook. Right when you walk into the Sportsbook, the Sports Bash is live every Monday and Wednesday. We're going to be at Yuri's in Wildwood, and Friday we're going to be at Ventnor Social. So busy week for the Sports Bash on location. Phillies have recalled right-handed pitcher Nolan Hoffman to Lehigh Valley, or from Lehigh Valley, to make room on the roster. Your boy Max Lazar got the option.
That's what happens when you trust a guy like Max Lazar too many times. You get bit.
Yeah, you do.
Like yesterday.
Yeah, so Hoffman is up, Lazar is down. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973.
McGarry's ready.
We'll be getting Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, to join us now. Obviously, Mike, this conversation is going to take a wild, different turn than it would have if it was just a normal weekend. But we got to start with Zack Wheeler, obviously, and, just to get your thoughts on, do you envision a scenario, regardless of how the Phillies update us here, where Zack Wheeler pitches again this season?
I would be surprised if he were to pitch again this season. Obviously, you're hoping for the best, both for his own personal health, like Rob Thompson said in Washington, D.C. This is not a hamstring. This is not, a sore bicep. This is not a pulled oblique. I mean, blood clots are scary, scary things. You obviously, number one, hope the best for Zack personally, but two, being realistic about it and seeing what in other sports guys, how long they've been out when they've had blood clots and stuff like that. It would be surprising to me if Zack Wheeler would come back and pitch again this season.
All right, Mike, with that, is the Phillies starting pitching still the strength of this team, even without Zack Wheeler?
No, at this point, I would have to say no. I think it was the strength of this team, Mike, and you envision going into a series. Think of the Zack Wheeler that pitched here at Citizens Bank Park on July 6th, the guy who threw a one-hitter against the Cincinnati Reds. Complete game, the crowd chanting, let's go Wheeler in the ninth inning. One of the highlights of the season. You take that Zack Wheeler and you take Christopher Sanchez, and now you're going into a short series with those two guys and you're putting a lot of pressure on the opposing team. A wild card series, you could be eliminated. The division series, you could be down 2-0. Now, all of a sudden, Zack Wheeler's not in the picture. You still got Christopher Sanchez here. But if you're a team like the Mets, the Dodgers, the Padres, if Christopher Sanchez beats you in Game 1 and you look out there in Game 2 and you say Jesus Luzardo or Ranger Suarez or Taijuan Walker, you say, okay, we can lose the Sanchez game. I like our chances against who's starting Game 2.
All right, one guy you didn't mention in there. What about Aaron Nola? Are we at the point now where what we saw yesterday and what we saw in his first 9 starts this year, that Aaron Nola is not a playoff factor? Or are you willing to say, you know what, that was his first start back after a long road, not a lot of hard hit balls against him yesterday, that he will be a factor come playoff time?
Yeah, feels strongly both ways, right? I'm just making a judgment as of today, August 18th. Now, August 25th, I might feel differently. I might feel differently on October 1st. But right now, the Aaron Nola that I saw early in the season and the Aaron Nola I saw yesterday, I mean, I can't send that guy to start a big, a Game 2 or a Game 3 in the playoffs. Maybe in a Game 4 in desperation. I'm not saying that's not going to change, that Nola can't turn it around. Things kind of snowballed on him yesterday. He did pitch well his last outing in AAA, so let's see what he's got the rest of the season. But as of today, August 18th, I can't, in good faith, send Aaron Nola out there to pitch a playoff game. Again, that might change. He has 5-6 weeks to change our minds here. But as of today, I can't put him out there in a playoff game.
Yeah, I know that he struggled again yesterday. Although, I mean, listen, there was no, his problem has been the long ball. These were just a couple of soft hit singles that just got through, 4 consecutive hits there against Nola, but he got pulled after a 6-run lead. That has been Nola's problem. You get a 6-run lead, he coughs it right back up. We'll see what he does in his next outing here. Mike, do you think Andrew Painter will be a factor now in this season?
Yeah, it certainly leaves the door open for him, especially if they want to pursue a 6-man rotation or if another injury pops out. He would seem to be your guy. But again, we go back to the thing of what is the strength of the team starting pitching. We all factored in Andrew Painter, pitching much more effective in AAA. Everybody has kind of assumed that Andrew Painter is a can't-miss prospect. And, I'm not saying we have to readjust our expectations for his big league career, but Mike, this is a guy with a 5.5 ERA in AAA. So again, for him to come up here and contribute, yeah, I think he might get a chance, especially now with Wheeler down for a while. I think you'll see him get an opportunity to maybe get a start here or there, and he can show us what he can do. But again, I don't know how realistic it is to expect a guy with a 5.5 ERA in AAA and who is pitching worse as the season goes on. He's getting worse, not better. I don't know how realistic it is for him to come out here and expect him to sort of contribute and be a big factor, though I do think he will get a start or two as we move forward.
All right, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. And then there's the next thing. This would probably be the biggest story of the weekend had Wheeler and Nola not come back. But what is this outfield now? Well, break down the outfield for us.
Really, that's a good question, because right when you're ready to bury Nick Castellanos, he's like the Undertaker. He pops up at the count of 2 and hits a home run yesterday. So you're ready to bury Nick Castellanos, but you can't get rid of the guy. It's a very good question, Mike. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing. It's almost like they're trying to mix and match every day. Kind of, I've used this analogy before, buying that scratch-off lottery ticket for $5 and hoping you hit for $200 or $500. To me, I would play Brandon Marsh in left. I would play Harrison Bader in center field. And then I mix and match with Kepler and Castellanos in right field. I think that's your best defensive outfield. I think Marsh has, earned a chance to play every day with the way he's hit since May 1st. And you just traded for Harrison Bader to play him 50% of the time. I don't see the point there. He's an excellent defensive center fielder. He's been in big games before with the Cardinals, with the Yankees, with the Mets. So I play Marsh in left. I play Bader in center, and I mix and match with Kepler and Castellanos in right. That's how I would go forward. How the Phillies go forward, who knows?
All right, we asked about Painter. Will Crawford be a factor, and why would you surmise that he has not yet been a part of this team?
Yeah, two things here, and I know he's got some great numbers at AAA, but two things. One, I think it's if they thought he could do it, they wouldn't have traded for Harrison Bader, because Harrison Bader kind of does what Crawford does. He plays center field, he plays left field. So if you thought Crawford was ready to come up and take that role, why did you trade for Harrison Bader? I just don't think right now there's a spot for Crawford to play every day. And I think if they promote him to the big leagues, they want him to play every day. And I come back to it again. You're asking a lot to throw a rookie in a situation where you're playing big pennant race games. Now, the flip side of that, Mike, is sometimes you bring up a young guy and he brings energy to it, and maybe he can give the team a jolt. So there's that possibility. But again, I just come back to, if he comes up, where's he going to play? Is he going to play every day? If he's not going to play every day, I don't think they want to promote him. And again, if you thought he could do it, 3 weeks ago or 17 days ago, why did you trade for Harrison Bader?
Yeah, and the fact that he's left-handed, I think, has to play here too, because you got Marsh left-handed, you've got obviously Kepler left-handed, and unless they just decided they wanted to cut bait with Kepler, but they've also been on record, Mike, saying when he's here, they want him to play a lot, not be a platoon-level player. And it seems that the way Marsh is going right now, you just said they probably want Bader to play every single day, and he's not going to play right field. So it doesn't seem, because Marsh has come on, that there's really a role for him up here. And that's even with as bad as this outfield has been. And you're saying, look, this guy's hitting 330. How much more does he need to do? The fact that he hits left-handed and they want him to play every day is probably what's blocking him.
Right, absolutely. And I think the left-handed thing there is key. This team is left-handed dominated with Harper, obviously with Schwarber. A lot of the power comes from the left side for this team. So, and they've got Kepler, they've got Brandon Marsh. So I agree. There's just not, I don't see a spot for Crawford, and they're not going to bring him up here and play him once or twice a week. I don't think that's good for his development. And again, I just come back to the fact of they saw him play April, May, June, and July. They had 4 months of Justin Crawford. I believe the Phillies have a pretty good idea of what he's capable of doing, a pretty good projection. And they went out and traded for Harrison Bader. So if you wanted Crawford to play, why did you go trade for Harrison Bader? Just promote Crawford. That move was made 3 weeks ago. I haven't seen anything to sort of change that sort of thinking since you made that trade.
Right. I mean, Bader is just simply an upgrade over Rojas offensively. I mean, that's essentially what which is interesting that they decided, it seems like anyway, that slight upgrade over Rojas as an offensive player. I say slight upgrade. He's probably, he would be an average offensive player to Rojas being a below average offensive player. But he's impressed them enough to say you're the everyday center fielder. Is that what it looks like to you?
Yeah, I mean, I would play him every day in center field. He's defensively, he's a very good left fielder. Defensively, he's very solid to above average in center field. And plus, Mike, he can hit for power, which is something that Rojas was never going to do. Harrison Bader can come up in a 3-2 game with a guy on first base and pop a home run, and you win in the game 4-3. So he can hit for power. He's got playoff experience. Again, the way I would go, I think it's your best outfield is Bader in center, Marsh in left, and then a mix and match of Kepler and Castellanos in right. I think that's your best defensive outfielder, and I think that's your best offensive outfield also.
Well, you've been around these professional athletes for your entire career, all right? How difficult of a situation are the Phillies in with Castellanos making $20 million to say to him, hey, you're either benched and or platooned?
That's a difficult situation to be in, because you saw how Nick kind of reacted when he got benched for defensive purposes in Miami. That kind of turned into a firestorm. And you look at his performance since that night has not been that great. Now, again, every time the guy's like got pro wrestling 1-2, elbow up, shoulder up, kick out. The guy's unbelievable. Just when you think you're done and ready to move on from him, he has a game like he had yesterday where he gets a big hit. And we all know how hot he can be. I'm like, I think that this is just sort of the agreement, right? You're paying the guy $20 million. You're going to run him out there 5 days a week, maybe 6 days a week, and you're just going to hope that, he gets hot, which he's capable of for 2 to 3 weeks in October and can carry you. We've all seen him get hot in the playoffs. We've also seen him get very, very cold in the playoffs. So here's just the deal. You're paying the guy $20 million. You're not going to put him on the bench. You're going to keep running him out there and just hope he gets on one of his hot streaks. And if he does, it'll all be great. If he doesn't, then Nick Castellanos might be looking for a new home next year.
Mike, obviously, you look at this team with the Wheeler thing. If you thought that they were a top 3 candidate to be a World Series contender, and by the Vegas odds, we're at the Fanatics Sportsbook today, you could probably walk up to the window and get pretty good odds on Philadelphia to win the World Series. Has that, or probably could have a week ago, have they dropped lower now in your mind in the National League because of this?
Yeah, in my mind, Mike, this is a big loss, and they have dropped lower, Mike, because, again, I go back to what I said. You had the biggest advantage was in a short series, 2 out of 3 in the wild card series. Wheeler game 1, Sanchez game 2. 3 out of 5 in the division series. Wheeler game 1, Sanchez game 2. You lose, the Mets or the Dodgers come in here for the division series, and Wheeler beats them in game 1. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, we got to go play Christopher Sanchez in game 2. If we lose that game, this series is over. Well, now, again, you lose game 1 to Christopher Sanchez. Now you're facing who? Jesus Luzardo, Ranger Suarez, Taijuan Walker in game 2.
Are you getting to the?
Who knows?
Are you getting close, Mike, where you think Taijuan Walker could be an option to pitch a playoff game?
Yeah, yes, the way he's pitched. Arguably right now, again, on August 18th, who do you have more faith in? Now, he pitches tonight, and we've got time to turn it around. But right now, who do you have more faith in, Ranger Suarez or Taijuan Walker? I think that's kind of an open question right now, especially with the way Suarez has pitched this season and especially with the way he collapsed last season. So, yeah, Walker right now is getting the results. So you can't argue with the results. But again, I just look at faith. Like, how much more faith do you have in Ranger Suarez is throwing 88, 89 miles an hour nowadays. Walker's not throwing much harder, but I just think the biggest issue is the strength of this team. This team's strength, its starting pitching, is no longer this team's strength. This team's biggest advantage that it had almost every team they would face in a short series was Wheeler game 1, Sanchez game 2. And now at least what we think is going to happen. It would be great if Wheeler can come back, but history tells us that advantage is no longer for the Phillies.
All right, tough series, too, against the Mariners here. 3 right-handed pitchers in this series, so we'll see how they handle the outfield this week. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, here on the Sports Bash, where there's never a dull moment with the Philadelphia Phillies. Even the first-place Phillies, 5 games up on your New York Mets.
Yeah, and Mike, they went 6-4 on that road trip, and the second half of that road trip, you would have thought they were 0-10 on this 10-game road trip. It is amazing you're right, for a team that wins. Boy, they do hit a lot of speed bumps on their way to 162 games.
All right, when we come back, Mike, appreciate your time as always, pal. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.
All right, we'll see you down the road. Thank you.
All right, when we come back, we'll update the poll. How you guys feel about Zack Wheeler being out? Plus, the text board has been a volcano. Blowing up right now.
Is there anger or what? What's going on?
A little bit of anger, a little bit of stuff. 609-403-0973. Sports Bash live on location today at the Fanatics Sportsbook.
We got the Cubbies on.
Today,
Cubbies
by
and
the way.
Brewers on right now.
Cubbies and Brewers. They play 5 times over the next 2 weeks or something like that. They have a lot of games coming up. It's an 8-game deficit in that National League Central. It's a packed bar here today at Fanatics Sportsbook.
This place was packed over the weekend for that UFC fight. I do know that.
All right, more Sports Bash coming up. We'll keep an eye on the Phillies lineup as well here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app live today at Ocean Casino. Poll questions up at Mike Gill Show. If Zack Wheeler can't return to pitch this season, can the Phillies win the World Series? Yes, they still have good enough pitching. No, you need an ace. Or weren't winning with them.
That's a good point. The third one is a good discussion to have, right?
Well, 40% are voting one way, 32% are going another way, and 26%. So it seems like we have a decent little split here. There is no runaway winner. Josh, what do you got? Where'd you vote?
Oh, I voted no. They need an ace. This team is struggle. Going to be. Listen, you guys know how it is. My position has been consistent. This offense is not consistent enough for this team to be a championship team. So you have to have pitching.
PG, where would you vote?
I would vote. I would probably lean towards no. They weren't going to win it with him. But now I'm certainly going to vote no.
All right, so no need an ace is 40% right now. Weren't winning with him is 32%. So you're basically saying about 72% of the listeners said either no, they're not winning because they need an ace, or weren't going to win anyway. Only 26% of Philly fans out right there right now think this team is still good enough to win a World Series. Boy, oh boy. All right, when we come back, the Eagles made a trade over the weekend, but could it mean something even bigger? Stick around. That's next. Johnny Mack joins me. All right, hour 2 of the Sports Bash live at Fanatics Sportsbook here at Ocean Casino. This hour is brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your trusted source for heating, plumbing, service, and installation for generations. Call 609-390-3907, online at broadlees.net. I'm Mike Gill. The Phillies lineup, by the way, is out. Nick Castellanos is in the lineup. No Harrison Bader tonight. So the right-handed bat, the odd man out, is Bader. Castellanos is in. Turner, Schwarber, Harper, Realmuto, Bohm, Marsh, Castellanos, Kepler, and Stott. They're facing a right-hander tonight, Logan Gilbert. So no Bader in center. Castellanos is the right-handed bat. He'll be the guy in right field tonight. The lineup is brought to you by Instant Services, South Jersey's premier HVAC, plumbing, and electrical service provider. Go to instantservices.com to learn about their preventative maintenance memberships and how they can keep your systems running strong year-round. All right.
Is that a violation, by the way, to leave a preseason game early?
No.
Okay, good.
It's a violation to go to the preseason game. John McMullen has to go to the preseason game, but wouldn't that be the violation isn't leaving early, it's deciding to go in the first place.
Well, I'm gonna go inception on you, and I'd say it's a violation to say violation. I'll take a violation. Yes, I wouldn't go to a preseason game unless I had to.
No.
Did you pay for the tickets?
The tickets were free. The
Okay.
parking I had to pay for.
All right.
All that stuff.
All right. Yeah, I'm out on the preseason game. Although I did watch the game. Like we made, it's an event
The
still.
pick six was nice.
Yeah.
That was good.
The whole thing, John, of like, hey, the Eagles play at 1, the Phillies play at 4. Let's make a little day out of it. We went to the beach for about 2 hours, then left the beach in time to get to an establishment to watch the Eagles. Had a couple cocktails and some food. Then the Phillies game came on, so that's acceptable to watch the game, just to do stuff. But what did we learn from the game? Let's find out. Vic Fangio spoke today. He talked about that cornerback position because that's probably the biggest one now, and I want to get your take on where it stands based on what we saw, what he said, and then today's practice.
Oh, it was kind of strange. I mean, day 16 of Eagles camp, and I think we knew more about this competition on day 1 than day 16, and I don't think that's a positive. The first time this summer, Cooper DeJean took first team reps at outside corner. Mac McWilliams was getting a few first team reps. Kaylee Ringo did not get any first team reps. Jacorian Bennett did not get any first team reps. So, it was quite the scene. It was interesting because Vic talked before practice, and he gave us a heads up, and he let us know that he actually got that question. You had said at some point Cooper DeJean would get some snaps at outside corner. It hasn't happened yet. He said, watch today, and he did. Got about 10 of them by my count. But in the same press conference, Vic noted, how could you get him out there? And he said, well, number one, you have to find somebody to play in the slot. And the follow-up was, are you comfortable with anyone else playing the slot? And he said, no. So there's so much uncertainty at that particular position, other than Quinyon Mitchell, obviously. It's expanding when it should be contracting.
All right. Do you get a sense that Bennett is in play at all? Is he behind because he wasn't here? Is he a guy that they would say, hey, if he can get up to speed, he would be the guy? Or is he kind of on the outside looking in? Where do you kind of put his role in this battle?
If I were to bet, I think he's ultimately going to win the job. And I think that's more about sort of the unknown, and you kind of cross your fingers and say, well, maybe this guy has some upside, as opposed to what's going on with everybody else. I've said from the start, it's pretty clearly that as far as September 4th against Dallas, Adoree Jackson should probably be out there, just from the fact that he's a veteran and knows how to play, but the upside is limited. I think Ringo's a big disappointment at this point. He only took second team reps. That that was the first time he's not gotten any first team reps in a full practice. So things not going well for him. Bennett only took second team reps after playing pretty well in the game. But, you know, a lot of that is what you said, recent trade pickup, trying to learn the defense, all that kind of stuff.
So, speaking of trade pickup, they made a trade yesterday. John Mechie III is here, a former second-round pick. He played at Alabama with Devontae Smith. He was a tremendous player there. I think the Eagles, that year in that draft, 2022, there was a lot of buzz about him. He ends up getting leukemia, misses his entire rookie season, and really hasn't done much with Houston for whatever reasons there. They make this trade yesterday. They swapped day 3 picks. Harrison Bryant, the tight end, who wasn't going to make the team most likely anyway, he goes to Houston. The Eagles get Mechie. They already have some wide receivers here. How do you read into this deal? Because a lot of people see much like the Dotson trade last year. Wow, this is a really good trade. Dotson didn't do much last year, but now he's here. What's this wide receiver room look like? How does Mechie fit in?
Yeah, and he wasn't there today. The Eagles still haven't officially announced the trade, but it's coming soon. From the standpoint, the more I think about it, it's a situation where he was going to get cut in Houston. Harrison Bryant was going to get cut here. And they said, all right, let's make a deal. They're, in the case of Mechie's in the final year of his rookie contract, he mentioned some of the stuff he's went through, leukemia most notably, and a great story to be able to return. But the reality is he's only had 40 receptions over the past 2 seasons. Again, he was going to get cut in Houston. I think a lot of people will revert back to his college days when he was a star at Alabama. Hasn't really, kind of reminds me of Lewis Seen from a different standpoint, who's brought in from, former first-round pick, and Eagles brought him in. People will remember him from Georgia. So this to me is more of just take a shot because Howie liked him coming out. And if it doesn't work, it's not that big of a deal.
So you don't see another domino from this? I mean, a lot of people look at Dotson. Hey, he's on the end of his deal. Maybe you flip him out and you put Mechie in that spot. Is he a guy who has to make this team? Do you trade for him and say, no, you traded for him, he's making this team? How do you kind of see that?
Well, we'll see when he gets on the field, but understand they have 2 more training camp practices, and I think if you look at what happened last year, very similar with Jahan Dotson, and Dotson had produced significantly more in Washington, even though he didn't live up to the billing as a first-round pick, and it took him about 3/4 of the season to develop some kind of chemistry. So, I mean, I've been talking about Dotson as a sneaky trade candidate since way back in the spring, simply because of what you said. He's on the final year of his deal. He's a good player, but he doesn't get a lot of traffic here. So, he's going to leave for a better opportunity after the year. So if you can get something for him, it would make some sense to spin him off if you have an alternative to play that third receiver role. I'm not sure they do. But, they need an edge rusher. A lot of people think they still need another cornerback, although I think they've made that acquisition with Jacorian Bennett. I don't think they're double dipping, but they could use an edge rusher significantly. So can he get you the Jacorian Bennett of edge rushers? Maybe. He's not going to get you Trey Hendrickson, but if there's a young guy out there on the final year of his rookie deal who the Eagles think has some upside, that could be a possibility.
John McMullen, Birds 365, Sports Illustrated. They have a couple of those guys that used to be the young, high-profile players. Josh Uche and Azeez Ojulari. They were both, top high draft choices, not obviously first-round high picks, but these are guys that at one point people were excited about. Ojulari, the sack the other day in the game. Where do those 2 guys fit in that right now on this depth chart?
Well, I think Uche has played better, has had a better camp. Ojulari started to show up a little bit late. It might be a little bit too late. But overall, I wouldn't feel comfortable with those being number 3 and number 4 in the rotation. And that's the issue for the Eagles. Now, Vic is a little bit different in that he proved last year. He'll shorten the rotation, so as long as you find the third guy, and right now I would say that would be Uche. But it's just comparatively speaking to what the Eagles usually are on the defensive front, and they're still good at defensive tackle, obviously. But I'm stunned that he's planning on entering the season with this edge rushing group, and that's why I think that might be the move that he's going to make.
Today, one of the things, I want to go back to the corner spot because one of the things that Fangio was asked was, is he disappointed that no one has taken this job yet? He says, no, not really. He's usually a guy that tells the truth. Do you think that he would like to have that corner spot defined by now, or is he really doesn't care at this point that he still has enough time to make a real decision?
No, I think he cares. I mean, just logically, I mean, you would have liked to Kaylee Ringo to step in and play lights out from day one and win the job. I mean, that was the pie in the sky hope. And you're looking at August 18th or wherever we are, and now he's not even getting first team reps. So, no, I mean, generally, yeah, Vic tells the truth, but no, I mean, that's just obviously you always want somebody to hit a home run, grand slam, and he's not even in the conversation. I mean, Mac McWilliams was getting first team reps today, not Kaylee Ringo.
So does he have a guy, or do you see a guy that could play the slot if they just can't decide on a player and move Cooper DeJean to the outside? Is there a player that could then play the slot?
He said no. And he said, do you envision it at some point? He said no. So the guy's playing the slot. I mean, Brandon Johnson is an undrafted rookie. Now he's hurt, and he was basically the top slot corner because they moved Mac McWilliams back outside. Now, ultimately, they'll continue to cross-train McWilliams, so he'll be in the conversation. But Perry Nickerson's a veteran who's been around a long time but hasn't played much because he's just sort of that kind of guy. No, they don't have somebody to play this. And that's why it was surprising from that standpoint, because Vic literally said that today. And yet there he is. He's giving Cooper some outside corner rep, which is strange.
Yeah, of the guys who were on the outside, Adoree Jackson, Kaylee Ringo, Jacorian Bennett, Mac McWilliams, any of those guys you can envision possibly moving inside?
Well, a lot of people projected Mac inside. He was getting inside reps earlier in camp, but now he's moved back outside. So they'll continue that cross-training, like I said. Jacorian Bennett, we talked to today, he has played it in the past in college and things like that, but not a ton at the pro level. Ringo is not he's too long, he's too big, he's not a slot corner. He'd have a very difficult time. So, probably from the guys on the roster, the best projected slot player would be Makuba. But it looks like now that he's going to be the starting safety because he's getting the vast majority of the first team reps there after having the big game against Cleveland.
John McMullen's with us right now on the Sports Bash from Birds 365 weekday mornings at 8 a.m. on the Jacob Media YouTube channel and, of course, Sports Illustrated. I believe you asked about Jahad Campbell and how he's progressing. They blitzed him early in that game. I think it was the second or third play of the game. He gets a sack. So it was the first time we really got a chance to see him, there. But is he at a point where they can't even use him in that role because he's going to be the starting off-ball linebacker?
Well, he might be, but I think that's going to be sort of part of his role. Not that Vic is going to blitz a ton, but I do think it gives him the opportunity to do it more situationally, specifically in the red zone or when the team is backed up. That's when he likes to pull out those blitzes. And in those key circumstances, I think that's another tool in the toolbox that he can use more this year because of Campbell. I still think Trotter's more ready to play right now. Some struggles in coverage, not the most instinctive player, Jihad Campbell. So there's plenty to work on, but he's so gifted athletically that especially when he's going downhill, and especially from the second level, because he hasn't been good in the few reps he's gotten as an edge rusher, which would be helpful if he was good at those. But at the second level, when he's going downhill, that's when the athleticism gets to sort of stand out.
You just mentioned instinctive. I want to get your take on Makuba then, because I thought that was a pretty instinctive play. He gets the interception. Obviously, you see the interception, pick six. Everybody just imagines now the fans are, oh, that's locked up. Is it as cut and dried to you about Makuba?
No, that's what I don't think it's cut and dry, but clearly, I mean, there's something to it. And Vic did, and I was hoping he was going down that route because, people get excited about turnovers, but there's different types of turnovers. You go back to Reed Blankenship in Brazil, the diving interception to seal the game. That's a playmaking play. Sometimes you're playing center field and it's a bad throw and you just catch it. And, those, they're both turnovers, but, one guy's making a play, one guy's just in the right spot. And I got kind of that feeling from the Makuba turnovers, especially the fumble. It's just, a bad handoff between Dylan Gabriel and I think it was Pierre Strong. And he was Johnny on the spot, and that's great. And the interception was just a bad decision, late throw by Dylan Gabriel, and he took it back. Yeah. And Vic said it basically exactly that. He said, it was a terrible decision by them. But he did add that, you got to catch the football, you got to make the play, and then you're able to take it back 75 yards. So Drew deserves a lot of credit for that. And there is something to the fact that there's a knack for taking away the football, and he seems to have it. He seemed to have it in college. So I think they're very excited about him. And he's a very instinctive player in general. That's why they like him, very instinctive in coverage. So I think it's all positive, but I do think that people got, hype up when they see two turnovers. They go, wow, but they weren't really playmaking plays, if that makes sense.
All right, John, are we reaching the point, or when do we reach the point where we start to worry about A.J. Brown not being able to practice?
Yeah, well, I think you're at that point for the simple reason that he was gearing up to return for the Browns joint practices, and then they pulled him back again. So clearly something didn't go as well as they had hoped. But, when I say that, you're not going to see him the rest of training camp, which is only 2 more practices, or certainly in the preseason game, you're not going to see him. So, you're a little bit on alert when they start prep for the Cowboys. And there's a possibility he could miss a game or 2, I guess. But it's not a long-term issue, but it could be a short-term issue.
Obviously, the Friday game, you got 1 more of these left. Is there any thought that you're going to have to play some of these guys, at least on the defensive side of the ball, to figure out these battles?
Yeah. That's just Vic's nature, and half of it is, I think, if you ask me, does he know who's going to play Week 1 against Dallas? I would say yes. He knows. But he likes to play guys in the preseason. And the Eagles don't like to play it.
Telling Nick, I'm not sure yet he knows the answer you're telling me?
I think that might be a little bit what's going on. Because he wants these guys to get more reps and as many reps as possible.
Gotcha.
So, I think partially. I find it very hard to believe that Vic Fangio doesn't know who he wants in there. But, I think he's very good at playing the game, and the Eagles as an organization don't like to play their key players in preseason games, and he wants them to get extra reps. So I think he plays the game well.
All right. Well, there you go. We got Friday football right here on 97.3 ESPN. The Jets and the Eagles, preseason game number 3, and then we're doing it for real. And, of course, you can listen to every Eagles game right here on 97.3 ESPN. John McMullen, Birds 365, Sports Illustrated, as the Eagles continue the preseason. The month of August is cruising through. John, we will catch up with you later this week, man.
All right, thanks, Mike.
There's John. All right, everybody, Sports Bass Live. And this hour is brought to you by Broadley's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your trusted source for heating, plumbing, service, installation for generations. Call 609-390-3907, online broadleys.net. A lot there from John. The defense has all the battles. I mean, the offensive stuff has all been figured out. Tyler Steen's going to play right guard. Although I should have asked John about this. I did see on Twitter today that Darian Kennard was getting first-team reps at left guard, which is something John brought up last week, that he wouldn't be surprised if he moved over and got some first-team over Brett Toth. So keep that in mind, too. We'll do more Eagles throughout the day. I do want to get more thoughts on the preseason game. 5 observations I had in the game at 5:30 tonight. But coming up next, Vic Fangio, the truth serum. Although John said maybe he's not speaking the truth today. Some of the things that he said and was asked at the press conference about the defense that we saw, all the battles on defense, corner, safety, linebacker, edge rusher, and more. You'll hear from the Eagles' defensive mind, Vic Fangio, next on the Sports Bash. Don't go away. More Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN, live from the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. All right, welcome back. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. We are at the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. I'm Mike Gill. What's going on, everybody? Good to have you with us. Of course, every Monday, the Sports Bash will be live right here at the Fanatics Sportsbook. That means the football season's back. And when the football season's back, you're going to hear from Vic Fangio, Nick Sirianni, Kevin Patullo right here on the Sports Bash. Today, it was Vic Fangio getting questioned a lot about his corners, his safeties, and all the battles he has going on the defensive side of the ball. So let's hear from the Eagles defensive mastermind, Vic Fangio, right now on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
All right, magic number for the Phillies. Anybody know it? 34. And after last night, all the naysayers found out why they brought in Duran the night he got hit on the leg.
Do you feel like you're any closer to an answer at that second quarterback spot?
Not yet. I think all the guys are pretty even right now. And Jacory just got here, got a full week last week. Need to give him a full opportunity with the other guys.
Are you disappointed at all that no one has just run away with that job?
Well, not really. I mean, they're close, Usually it does become pretty obvious to everybody as to who's going to win the job. That hadn't happened yet. I think they all have done a good job in and of their own way. Had good moments, not so good moments. So we haven't reached that conclusion yet.
With Drew, when he makes those kind of plays in a preseason environment,
Who does?
Drew
Yeah.
Makuba, how do you kind of weigh that? Is that an impressive performance to you, or how do you kind of weigh it?
Well, each and every play is its own entity. The interception was obviously a good play. Wasn't a great play on their part, but that's not our problem. It's when you have an opportunity to make a play, you got to catch it, and you got to run with it. So that was a good play. The fumble recovery obviously was, again, a botch on their part, but some guys have a knack to make you pay for those botches, and it's our ball instead of 2nd and 11.
You mentioned at the beginning of camp that we'd see Cooper Gene, an outside cornerback. We have not seen that yet. Why is that?
I watched today's practice.
Is it coming?
He'll be out there a little bit.
Is he competition on the outside as well?
What's that?
Part of the competition?
He is. Yes, he is.
How is Gordon done as far as picking things up in these 2 weeks?
Good. I really, I think it's been good. We purposely didn't, we could have played him in the first preseason game off of being here, just what it was, 2 days or 3 days max, but didn't want to put him out there not knowing totally what to do. And he'll get another good amount of reps this week.
Following up on Jeff's question, do you see a possibility where Cooper could play on the outside and someone else in the slot this season?
Not at this time.
When you look at Patrick Johnson made plays last preseason, this preseason, how do you evaluate him as an guy?
Yeah, Patrick was a guy that, we were disappointed to lose last year when we did. He's a reliable player that knows how to play, and we're glad to have him back. And, he does well when he gets his reps.
What have you liked about the way Matt has played so far?
Mac had that injury with practice. I don't know the exact amount of days, but we'll call it a week maybe. And I think it's affected him, but hopefully he'll feel more healthy this week and we can see the true version of him. But because I think there's more there than we're seeing and getting right now. And I think it's probably more injury related and missing time related.
How is Jihad progressing, especially from that second level? That looked like a really good blitz. How do you see that him progressing?
Yeah, he's been getting better and better each and every week. Like I say, he still has his hiccups. But I do think he's getting better and better and better. And, Bond's going to practice some today for the first time in a long time. And he'll get in there some with Bond. Trotter will also. So, that will settle him down too a little bit, hopefully.
Follow up on Cooper DeJean. You say not
Start over.
Not at this time with Cooper on the outside. What would it require to seriously consider him at full-time outside corner?
Someone to develop at the nickel position, and someone not to develop at the corner position. And we haven't seen Cooper play any corner either, other than NC2A ball. So there's a lot of unknowns there to be answered yet.
How do you feel Aziz is coming along?
He's coming. Yeah, I had a nice play the other day in the rush. He's coming.
When you
Who? Yeah, he got hurt in the game the other day, and you won't see him out here, I don't think, for a few days. So, but he had a good week of practice. Prior to us getting hurt in the game, he got beat a couple times.
when it comes to deciding which linebacker will be next to Zach Vaughn, how much is it just the evaluation of that player, and how much of it do you factor in how they play next to Zach?
Well, it's how they play. Obviously, I think if they're playing next to Zach, it might make it easier for them. Some players, especially when you're a young player, at ILB, safety, the same thing. If there's a veteran that can run the show and help you out a little bit, that helps.
Vic, you mentioned Byron Young at different points this camp. What have you seen from him Saturday in his first game action?
Yeah, I was, number one, pleased that he was able to take the amount of reps that he did, because he missed about a week or so of their camp too, and I think he's been getting better and better, and was pleased with his play overall.
We've seen a fair amount. Did that performance in the preseason game Vic, do enough to separate him in that competition, or how are you looking at that?
Not yet, no.
We've seen Jalen Hunt flip back and forth to each side a fair amount, especially in the last week or so. Nolan, for the most part, stays on that one side. What's the reasoning there?
Yeah, Nolan, tweaked his left shoulder a little bit. So we just played him extensively on the left, because your inside arm takes the brunt of the action. So we tried to take that off his left shoulder, and that was the only reason.
Are you expecting these competitions to go into the third preseason game, or do you want these next 3 days of practice?
They will probably go into that game.
When you talk about development at the slot corner spot, potentially moving Cooper, who are some people in that mix that you're trying to develop? Harry Nickerson.
Harry, Mac, Brandon. Those are the guys right now.
What do you like about Nickerson, veteran?
Perry's a veteran guy, obviously. Hasn't played a lot of ball, even though he's a veteran. But when he seems to get his chances, he does pretty good. And we'll see. He'll get more reps this week also.
All right, there's Vic Fangio right here on the Sports Bass Live 97.3 ESPN. And as you heard Vic Fangio kind of tell you there, the cornerback spot, he said, no, not yet. I think all our guys are pretty even right now. Jacorian just got here, got a full week last week. Need to give him a full opportunity with the other guys. I thought that was the biggest takeaway of them all, is that he kind of singled Jacorian Bennett out. Because I would say this. My observation after the second preseason game is that Bennett is the best of the group. We had Q Myers on the show last week when the trade was made. And one of the things that Q Myers told us was that he was the best corner in Oakland, Vegas, I should say, and that he is a big guy in terms of pass breakups. He had 8 pass breakups in 10 games last year. So he's a guy that's always around the ball.
So he's a good coverage guy.
Good coverage guy. And I thought on Saturday he had good coverage. There was a couple of plays. Deontay Johnson, he ran right with him. There was a play that kind of got tangled up a little bit. He had a pass breakup in the game on Saturday. I like what I saw from him. And now listen, Q Myers, who covered him with the Vegas Raiders, said that the people in Vegas were not happy that they gave up on him, that they really like him. One of the reasons, though, is he doesn't fit Pete Carroll's defense because Pete Carroll likes bigger, more physical corners, and he's only like 5'10", 200 pounds. So he's not like, remember those Legion of Boom guys, Richard Sherman out there, that type of corner. So they just basically gave up on him because he didn't fit what Pete Carroll likes. If you're asking me, after 2 preseason games, and I'll give you another really interesting part about this, is he singled him out today in that press conference by saying, look, he just got here. He has to kind of play catch-up. But in the game on Saturday, the one interesting thing for me was the amount of snaps. If you look at the snap counts of the corners, Adoree Jackson, 21. Kaylee Ringo, 30. Jacorian Bennett played 35, and Mac McWilliams played 35. They both played over 50% of the snaps. That tells me that he wanted to see those guys get more time. Now, normally in the preseason, whoever plays the less.
Right, I was going to
more.
ask you, Adoree had only 21 snaps. Does that mean he's got the shot, the clear?
I think, by the way, if you're a veteran player and you're playing 21 snaps in a preseason game, that's not a good sign.
No, it's not.
Generally, but.
It's like Deontay Johnson. He's playing.
You're trying to say, look, we want to show that this is a competition, so you got to go out there, but you got to play 21 snaps. I think that Bennett is right now, if you were to ask me, who is the guy that starts and is the player that will be the guy on Thursday night against the Cowboys, I think you're going to see Jacorian Bennett win that job.
Well, is that guy, whoever starts on week 1, is he going to be the starter in week 3?
That we can't predict.
Against Kansas City in week 2.
Well, as you hear him, Fangio, in that press conference right here on 97.3 ESPN, that he basically said, not yet. Then he was asked, are you disappointed that no one has run away with the job? He says, well, not really. He says they're close. Usually it does become obvious to everyone. It's obviously not obvious on there's nobody running away with the job. He says it hasn't happened yet. So that tells me again that Bennett just got here. These other 2 guys haven't separated from each other. Here's a third guy now into the mix. He just got here. Maybe he could be the one that starts to run away with this thing because the other 2 guys can't run away from each other.
Right, so it's not whether it's an embarrassment of riches. It's they don't really have somebody who's really taking a stranglehold on the job, and that's concerning.
And that's why they had to make the trade in the first place, is because they don't have an embarrassment of riches. Now, the question would be, why didn't they just bring Darius Slay back? Right?
Yeah.
Because it's evident that he doesn't think Kaylee Ringo is the guy, because Ringo got no snaps with the first team today. Adoree Jackson did. And look,
that's
you could
concerning to me because Ringo has been in this system. The other 2 guys, Jackson and Bennett, this is their first time with Vic Fangio. Ringo's been here.
Ringo is the pitcher who throws really hard but can't throw strikes, right? He's the guy that throws 99 and everybody's like, ooh, look at the velo, but he can't throw strikes. And everyone's enamored with the hard thrower, but I want the guy that can throw the ball over the plate and get people out. I can't put guys on base. Ringo's the guy that has all the tools. He's the guy that is the one that they want to win the job. You want the hard thrower to be your ace. But if he can't throw strikes, I can't trust him. That's what's going on in this situation here for me.
To your question about who they could have or shouldn't have kept, and just so people know, so Slay got a 1-year, $10 million contract with $8.7 guaranteed from the Steelers. Were you willing to give Slay that kind of money to return?
Yeah. 1-year deal, I would have done that. I mean, I don't know, you have to add up everything, Adoree Jackson, maybe I don't have Ojolari or Uche, maybe one of those guys isn't here. I mean, they gave Harrison Bryant got about a $2 million deal, maybe I didn't need to. Now, the Dallas Goedert thing made that stuff a little foggy because you didn't know if he was coming back or not. I don't know. Look,
CJ was a salary dump in essence.
CJ Gardner-Johnson, right, they ended up trading.
See, the guy I would have kept is Isaiah Rodgers because –
And that's the other – and then you Rodgers and said, okay, I'm not going to bring Slay back, but I'll bring back a guy that we liked and know the system.
Rodgers was 2 years, $11 million. Remember, he's 27 years old, so he's 8 years younger than Slay.
Mm-hmm. And that contract there, 2 years. Now, we've talked about this a lot in the offseason, is that the Eagles don't like to give multi-year deals to guys who are on prove-it deals, right? If you're on a prove-it deal, it's prove it to me for 1 year. The fact that Isaiah got a 2-year deal, that's why he's not here.
By the way, 2 years, $11 million total, $7.9 million guarantees. So he would have cost you $1 million less guaranteed, but would have been under contract for 2 years. I don't know. I would have made that move because I don't think that signing Adoree Jackson for 1 year, $1.75 million was that crazy, considering you could have kept another guy who's better than Adoree Jackson, who's younger than Adoree Jackson, for a little more money.
All right, real quick, we got some breaking news with the Phillies, and it's an update on Zack Wheeler. And this just came to my email box from the Phillies. Right-handed pitcher Zack Wheeler underwent successful thrombosis procedure to remove a blood clot in his right upper extremity this morning at Thomas Jefferson University Hospital. Further treatment and subsequent timeline of recovery for Wheeler is to be determined. So
that's good news, but we just
he got the surgery.
It's good news for him, but the bad news is that means he's pretty much done.
You think that definitively puts him out?
The surgery is what people always say is actually the longest recovery, because that's a very, very particular kind of surgery. People who are much smarter than us, doctors, have said that if you can do the treatment without the surgery, it's a much shorter timetable.
So when they say procedure, that means surgery, right? There's no difference between a procedure and
Correct.
a surgery? Okay.
Yeah, I would think that if he gets surgery to remove the blood clot, I mean, because generally, correct me if I'm wrong here, you hear a lot with blood clots, you take a blood thinner, and that's
Correct.
a non-invasive situation.
Right. Sometimes those blood thinners, what they do is they'll basically dissolve the clot over a period of time.
But that generally
And
is
you can play sports on blood thinners?
No,
Or
that
you can't?
the problem with the blood
You can't.
thinner
Okay,
is
right.
you take a blood thinner, they take about 2 to 3 months to kind of clear up the situation.
Right. Whereas the surgery, now you're having to wait. Remember, it was upper extremity. They haven't told us exactly where his body is, but they said it's the right side of his body. Well, if it's anywhere near his arm and his shoulder and he's a pitcher, right?
Right.
Put
It's on
two
his
and two together.
finger. Right. Right.
You probably will not see Zack Wheeler again this year. That would be that would be my take. I hope I'm way off on this.
And you really wonder what the rest of his career looks like. Will he ever be the same again?
Well, Dave Cohn came back
Because
from
he
it.
is 35, and he did mention retirement in a few years. So,
The procedure is a treatment that dissolves blood clots to restore normal blood flow. The approach is used in emergencies such as heart attacks, strokes, and severe blood clots in the lung or legs.
By the way, David Cohn pitched 6 more years after his surgery, and he was a 2-time All-Star during that period. 1 year, David Cohn, after the surgery, had a 20-win season. He had multiple seasons.
but how old was he? He wasn't 35, 36.
He was 33 years old when he had the surgery.
Right, so Wheels would be 36 next season.
So Cohn pitched until he was 40 years old.
So there's an update on Zack Wheeler. Good news that he got the successful surgery. If you were hoping that you were going to hear better news that he could play or pitch, I would not hold my breath on that. All right, when we come back, it's today's Unsportsmanlike Moment of the Day, and it has to do with college football. Stick around for that. It's next, the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
someone has to come up with something. And as one Big Ten athletic director told me, the SEC is not coming up with anything. So we're trying to push the discussion forward. Maybe it won't have enough public support, but we're trying to throw out ideas out there, even though a lot of people are saying this one is a little bit too out there.
That's our unsportsmanlike moment of the day, talking about the college football playoff expansion. The Big Ten put out a possibility. Josh, is it of 28 teams that they want to put in to the college football playoffs? Is this really what they're talking about? That, by the way, was Adam Rittenberg, ESPN college football reporter, on the Big Ten floating the idea of 24 to 28 teams. I am out on these ideas. I'm out.
Apparently, the thing going on is, and if you heard the whole Rittenberg conversation this morning on Sportsmanlike, heard Monday through Friday morning, 6 to 10 a.m. on 97.3 ESPN, the point that the Big Ten is making is we don't like the current model. We want a different model. So if we basically give you the most extreme idea possible, it's going to force conversations that are not being had.
Well, listen, if you're going to go to 24 or 28 teams, you're basically saying the entire top 25 makes the playoffs.
Which is horrible.
Seriously, it's ridiculous. College football does not have the depth to have 24 to 28 teams in it. It doesn't even have the depth to have 10 teams in the playoff, for God's sakes. And we saw last year, really 8 teams. There's not enough room or depth for 8 teams.
So, yeah, a 4-loss team or a 5-loss team could have a shot at the Natty? No.
Just let this thing play out. Just let this thing play out. And guess what? Big Ten and SEC, I don't need to see 6 of your stupid teams in the playoffs. 2 is enough. You get 2, that's it. If you're not one of the top 2 teams in your own conference, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs anyway. Football at 4. Mosher, next. Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort and the Gallery Bar, Book, and Games. The place to be inside Ocean Casino this football season. Go to the Gallery, go to Ocean, go for the win. For more information, visit oceanac.com. We are live at the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City every Monday during the football season. The Sports Bash is live on location. Stop out one of these Mondays and see us. And don't forget, Wednesday we're live at Yuri's for a Phillies watch party, the Phillies and the Mariners. And then on Friday we will be live at Ventnor Social. So 3 chances to come out and see the Sports Bash this week. And the Eagles play the Jets Friday night. And, of course, the Phillies are back in action tonight. A 3-game set starts with the Seattle Mariners, and the lineup for the Phillies is out. Before we get to Mosher, we'll give you the lineup real quick. We did get an update on Zack Wheeler. He is obviously going to be, and I would imagine he is going to be done for the rest of the season. You said you saw something from Pro Football Doc who commented on the injury to Wheeler. And, and the way that Pro Football Doc, David Chow, who we've had on the show before, he is the guy that's on Twitter who was the former team doctor for the San Diego Chargers. They were the San Diego Chargers at the time. But he has kind of become like this Twitter doc at Pro Football Doc. He kind of looks and diagnoses injuries. He does say, hey, look, I don't know the injuries. I'm not there to see the person. I'm only going off the video. There's no video here. This is just based on the surgery that Wheeler went through. He underwent successful procedure today to remove a blood clot in his right upper extremity, and they said TBD. So what did David Chow tweet out moments ago?
David Chow tweeted out, glad to see he got quick treatment. The key now is finding the cause. Return in 3 months is considered quick. His Philly season and playoffs are likely over.
All right, so that's coming from at Pro Football Doc. He's basically saying there's a good possibility that his season is over. And unfortunate news there to hear that today with, obviously, Zack Wheeler. And we'll continue to update you on that as things happen here. Right now, it's Football at 4 time. Let's go to Geoff Mosher. And, of course, Mosher joins me right now on a Mosher Monday edition of Football at 4 on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. What's going on, Moshe?
Nothing, Mike. That Zack Wheeler news is just a real gut punch, man. That's just, maybe there's something with this Phillies team that can do the Carson Wentz thing where we all need, and they can pull together and win it. It's because it's, like you said, hard to see Zack Wheeler coming back now. And without Zack, it's hard to see them winning anything.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way. We actually have a poll question up at Mike Gill Show. And we asked if the Wheeler can't return to pitch, can the Phillies win the World Series? 40% say no, you need the ace. 32% said they weren't winning with him. So you got 72% of people who really said we weren't winning with them, and now you're really not winning with them. 26% said yes, still good enough pitching, but we'll see what ends up happening there. But you're right, it is a gut punch. I mean, and it's similar like if the Eagles were to lose a guy like A.J. Brown. And I want to start with A.J. Brown, who's still standing on the sideline. Now, it doesn't seem like Brown's season is in jeopardy here. But now the fact that he's still on the sideline not practicing, do we read into that, or is this overly precautionary? Or are we starting to think that his debut on September 4th could be in question?
You remember last year he wound up missing some time early on, hurt his hamstring against Green Bay in the opener, had to miss a couple of weeks. And, the whole objective is to get him to be healthy and 100% when that first game happens on September, 4th against the Cowboys. So they're not going to stress it. He's been out there. I think that's the good sign is you see him out there. It's not like he's inside getting treatment all day long. He's been laughing it up with the team, throwing the football around. So to me, there's not a whole bunch of red flags at all. I don't think they feel the need to get him out there on the practice field. And honestly, they're trying to take a look right now. I mean, they have a ton of wide receiver decisions they have to make, Mike, between Darius Cooper, who's been an incredible story as a rookie free agent. Now Johnny Mechie has been added to the mix. And, of course, Terrace Marshall was playing well before getting hurt. So they've got, really it's helping them get an evaluation of other guys with the first team with A.J. Brown not there. Not saying that they don't want him to be there, but I'm saying there's no reason for them to stress it on him coming back.
You brought up John Mechie III. He was traded for yesterday. Some people saying, whoa, you traded for a wide receiver. Read the tea leaves on this one. Is this a guy that just taking a flyer on? Is this a guy that there's another domino to follow? Is this a guy you bring in because you're worried about Brown? Are they not happy with some of the guys they have? A lot of possibilities on why you make a deal like this. I know it's a guy that they liked in the 2022 draft. You say, hey, this guy has a lot of talent, hasn't been able to get on the field much in Houston. So why this trade?
So it's really a lot of it has to also do with Houston. Just like with the Raiders wanted Thomas Booker, and they were willing to trade Ja'Cory Bennett because Bennett was just not in their plans, and Booker was because of that whole Christian Wilkins fiasco that they went through. Well, the Texans lost a tight end, and they weren't deep in their minds at that position to begin with. So they needed tight end depth and somebody that can come in there and realistically compete and play on that team. And obviously the Eagles were a team that had the depth, which again shows you the value of just signing guys to one-year deals and stockpiling as much talent as you can. So that precipitated a conversation where it's like, all right, you guys have tight end depth. We have wide receiver depth. The Texans have a very good one in Nico Collins, one of the best, right? They drafted two. They have Christian Kirk now, who's going to play that Z/slot role for them. And Mechie became an odd man out. And Adam Kaplan made a great point on the podcast. He's spoken to Bill Polian about this a lot, the former great GM. If you have an opportunity to just give yourself a player at a valuable position who's you may have liked at one point or another, bring him in. There's no cost to you to do it. Harrison Bryant wasn't going to make the Eagles. It was very clear that their top two were Goddard and Calcaterra, and Kylan Granson had been on the kickoff coverage and I believe return units, so he was contributing on special teams, which is what a third tight end does a lot. And it'll be between him and E.J. Jenkins for that last spot. So Harrison Bryant became expendable, and now you bring in Mechie, and you kick the tires. See if he can bring you some value. It'll be hard because now I mentioned all the receivers that they have in camp, but nothing wrong with bringing in another one with a good pedigree.
I mean, obviously the pedigree is what it is in terms of he missed a full year because of his battle with leukemia. Then he came back and was okay. I mean, he's not been like, whoa, look at this guy. But do you see him as a guy who could have a role on this team? I mean, they brought in Dotson last year, and people were like, man, they stole Dotson. He had minimal role, if much at all. Do you think Mechie do they envision him having a role on this team?
Well, he has to practice and play well first. And, like you said, he hasn't been very productive since missing that whole year to come back from leukemia, which in itself is a great comeback. When he was coming out of college, teams I spoke to really loved his ability to run routes, his lateral quickness, thought he could be a super slot receiver if you put him there, make him a move Z, not really an X, not a big guy. And the Eagles do have what I think is a need for a pure traditional slot receiver. And one thing I emphasized coming out of the preseason game was, do you see how Anaya Smith caught that touchdown from the slot? It wasn't just an unrealistic scenario you won't see in the regular season. You'll see that. He caught it running a two-way go on a slot corner in man situations. And you see a lot of man low red zone because that's when teams like to blitz. So if Mechie can prove to be a guy that they think has a lot of value there, then possibly he could make the team. I still think it's a little bit of an uphill climb, and part of me wonders if they're thinking that they can kind of get away with, having him in camp and then, getting him on the practice squad after they waive him. We'll see. But like I said, there's a lot of competition here now, and it's sort of a may the best man win. But I do think Johnny Wilson and Anaya Smith have showed out pretty well in camp, along with Darius Cooper.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's interesting. I mean, I know a lot of people are laughing like, oh, can he play corner? And we'll get into that cornerback battle in a little bit. But I am kind of intrigued, what this means. You bring in a guy like Mechie who, obviously played at Alabama, high-profile player there, and then really did not do much so far. You brought up the Anaya Smith catch. I have that on my list of 5 things that really stood out because that's a play that the Eagles have not run a lot, that little inside slant to a real slot. They just haven't had a real slot receiver. And I don't know, Smith had one catch like that in the first preseason game for a touchdown. Then he gets another one here. And I'm thinking, man, can he have a role doing that? And do they now envision Mechie as maybe a better version of Smith who's had some drop problems like everybody else did on Saturday?
Yeah, and if you remember Anais Smith, I think his first touchdown from his real one in the regular season last year, that came from Tanner McKee, I believe was another red zone touchdown on a similar kind of play. So like a couple of years ago, do you remember when the Eagles acquired Dorian Green-Beckham in a trade, and everybody was like, "Oh, we're getting this great player who was a second-round pick, and he's amazing." And I kind of threw water on it. I didn't think it was going to be great. Then he caught a touchdown pass in the preseason out wide against a 5'9" fourth-string corner, but nobody wanted to take that into account, and everybody kind of came at me and said, "See, you're going to be able to use this guy in the red zone and." And I kept saying there's no way the Colts would ever put in man-to-man situation a 5'9" corner on a receiver who has DGB's physical skill set. But unlike in the opposite, like I'm saying, what you saw against Anais Smith on Saturday was a realistic scenario where you're man-on-man against a slot corner. Now, maybe it's a better slot corner in the NFL, but it really doesn't matter. You're running a two-way go. The corner has to be really, really good to know whether you're going to be breaking out or breaking in. So the point I'm trying to make is that was a realistic play, and that's how you can use Anais Smith. And don't forget, Anais Smith's a punt returner. I don't know that Johnny Mechie has done that. So I do think it still gives Anais the leg up that he can be a natural slot. You can use him as a punt returner. He's a draft pick, a Howie Roseman draft pick. So I think those kind of things give him a little bit of a leg up. And I think he's had a good camp. He hasn't had too many drop issues as he did last time. And I would say the pass that he caught a touchdown on was thrown a little bit behind him, and he still was able to reel it in and score.
No, I like the play. I have it listed as one of the 5 things that stood out to me in a very snooze fest of a game. Anais Smith catching that ball, body control, catching it first, and then getting into the end zone. All right. Moshe, I mentioned, can he play corner, Mechie? Who can play corner? Saturday we saw Adoree Jackson get 21 snaps. We saw Ringo get about 30. We saw Jacorian Bennett and Mac McWilliams both get about 50% of the snaps in the game. Today, Vic Fangio was asked, has anybody won that job? He said no. He was asked if he's disappointed that no one's won the job. He said not yet. He did mention Bennett by name. Jackson got the first-team reps today. McWilliams got some first-team reps, but not Ringo. Give us an expository on the CB2 spot.
Well, not only that, but Ringo also got third-team reps. So it was almost like, a double insult to injury. Listen, the phrase, Mike, if you got like 3 quarterbacks, you got no quarterback. If you got 4 cornerbacks, you don't have one cornerback who is your starter. So that's the situation they're in. I have a hard time thinking that if this thing shakes out the same way it's been right now, that Howie Roseman's going to be looking out there for a corner, or like a legit starting corner. But until that moment, until Vic is certain that he doesn't have a guy, then it's Adoree Jackson, Jacorian Bennett, Achille Ringo. And at this point, Ringo made another play in the preseason game that showed you some of his deficiencies. We saw in the first game, right, where it was Jamar Chase who caught the pass along the sideline, and Ringo was a little slow to get there, but then he couldn't wrap up the tackle at the ankles. Ringo just doesn't have these great fluid hips, and he gave up a third down pass because he got caught up in all this traffic of a crossing route because he just doesn't move laterally as well as some guys. So it looks now, we'll see what goes on the next few days.
Yeah.
Looks like Jacorian Bennett and Adoree Jackson are going to duke it out for a little while, and we'll see if Jacorian can make his move now.
I'm putting my money on Jacorian Bennett. That's number 1. Number 2, I liken Achille Ringo to the pitcher who has velo but can't throw strikes. He has the alive and electric arm, and he just can't throw strikes. And you're like, whatever happened to that guy? Ringo is the guy, right? He's the athlete. He's the guy that has all the tools, and then you're just like, why? Why can't you put it together? Because he does show flashes of brilliance at times with his athleticism.
Yeah, that's a little, flashes of brilliance I've yet to see from Achille Ringo. But you're right, he's shown you that he's a good athlete and can play out there. But I feel like we have not seen really good moments from Achille Ringo outside of like OTA practices, which are Adam calls that double A. I totally believe it. I agree with him on that. I make nothing I don't even make much out of training camp. but you have to start the evaluation process somewhere, and at least that's real intense practices. And I just don't think he stands out enough.
All right, safety, Makuba, interception, return for a touchdown, fumble recovery. Hey, this guy's got a knack for the ball. Nick Sirianni said after the game on Saturday. Did you see enough to say, I think Makuba is going to be the safety, or is that job still up for grabs?
Well, I've always thought if he's healthy and performing his duties adequately or to enough, that he would be the starter, because he's a second-round pick and a rookie and this year, and this coaching staff wanted him, so that helps. I wrote this for Philly Voice. I think that pick six was fantastic and really helped him. But we have to acknowledge that on that play, as Gabriel is rolling to his left, he's really looking for the tight end. And Ojulari is doing such a good job of covering that tight end, and not just cover, but getting physical, forcing Gabriel to have to be like, I can't make that throw to him. I'm going to go for Deontay. I'm guessing he was going then for Deontay, or he was still trying to thread it there. But either way, what really jumped out of that play to me was Ojulari, who had a good game, by the way. He had a really nice 2 pass rushers.
He's on my list. Ojulari's on my list.
Now, the only thing he didn't do well was he did not maintain his backside discipline on that end around that went for, I think, 16 yards. That he's got to do a better job of that. But good coverage.
Thinking an end around is happening in a preseason game?
Well, I wouldn't normally, but the Browns ran 2 shoot and ladder plays in the joint practices, so I guess the Eagles should have seen something like that coming.
True.
But no, I think Makuba, who again got some first team run today. Let's see how he stacks the next few practices. He'll play against the Jets, because Vic said the competing players will play in that preseason game, and see from there. I think he's got a good chance to start in the nickel.
All right, another one on my list. Ojulari was on my list as well. Would be Jahad Campbell getting a sack, but he does it as an edge, and that's a little bit different of how they deployed him in that it's early in the game, and you saw a different look right off the bat. Right now it seems that he's the starting off-ball linebacker next to Bond. So are you still trying to figure out what they're going to do with Jahad Campbell?
Figuring out, no. I'm projecting at this point, and he continues to show up and flash and be the perfect kind of complement to Zach Bond, because he can shoot the gap, and you saw him get the sack. That was on a sim pressure, or what they call a creeper pressure, where he's really the fourth rusher in a 4-man rush, which is not technically a blitz, but you saw Uche drop into coverage on that. And what that does is that messes up a protection scheme. And when you have a guy who can get downhill as fast as Campbell, you're going to make a lot of disruption. So I think he's got a chance to sort of have an impact in a different way on this defense this year that Cooper DeJean had on the defense last year, which is just bringing an electricity to it that you wouldn't get with Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Now, no offense to JT, because he can ball. He can play. They got a really good player there who has good instincts and can be rangy and make the plays, but he is not the athlete that Jahad Campbell is, and that really jumps out.
Well, and it's funny because one of the stories has been the Eagles have linebackers. They have 4 of them. This is unbelievable.
It really is. And when Nakobe Dean comes back, they'll have 5 of them. So who are these Eagles? Who are you, and what have you done with my Eagles?
Right. Smile Mondon also looks like he can actually play a little bit there as well. You take a look at the edge rusher spot. You mentioned Ojulari. How do you feel about that now, 2 games in of the preseason? I would imagine that Ojulari, Uche, both of those guys make it, or only one? Are they battling each other?
I think so, but I will tell you, the guy they got from the Browns, Ogbu, they call him Ogbo, right?
Mm-hmm, yep.
He's had some I don't know where he is as a run defender. He's a good pass rusher. He's got some speed around the edges. It's a guy you'd like to keep, especially if he can contribute on special teams. He might be battling it out there with Patrick Johnson for that 5th role. But Patrick Johnson's he has great camps every year and is a good special team player. So one of those 2 will probably be the 5th. But yeah, I would think Uche and Ojulari are your 3 and 4 in some order.
I think on the offensive side of the ball, really the only question is if Landon Dickerson can't play, do we have a battle at left guard?
Well, before you left, I think we were talking about this, and then when you were gone, I said, listen, I appreciate Brett Toth. He's been around for 7 years. He has impressed Jeff Stoutland with his perseverance. He, is not a very good when he has to play center because his snaps aren't very good. But I think the Eagles are doing the right thing in that, it's your job to lose. So they didn't immediately, when Lander Dickerson went down, say, all right, we got to get somebody else to left guard. They gave Toth a shot, but I do not. I have to squint really hard to see Brett Toth on the 53 and being the first guy up at left guard. And if you saw today, Darian Kennard took some first team left guard reps. That's a guy that's younger, more development upside, was with the team all last year, played some guard and tackle. Matt Pryor, I still think, can play left guard in a pinch if they need him to. I just don't see Brett Toth being that guy.
We agree on that. All right, Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast, Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash. One preseason game left to go. It is on Friday night. You can hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. The Eagles and Jets, the pregame coverage starts at 6:30. The kickoff at 7:30. Inside the Birds podcast available on all podcasting platform. Has all your Eagles, Jets coverage ready to go for the final 53 before the opener. Geoff Mosher, we'll talk to you Wednesday, man.
All right, Mike, take care.
All right, there's Moshe here on a big old Monday edition here at the Fanatics Sportsbook. I'm Mike Gill. We are live at the Fanatics Sportsbook every Monday at Ocean. Wednesday this week, we're going to have a Phillies watch party at Yuri's in Wildwood. And on Friday, we're going to be at Ventnor Social. We'll do the show live at Ventnor Social. And on Wednesday and Friday, we will have the Lombardi Trophy with us. Stop on out, get your picture taken with the Lombardi Trophy. If you haven't done that yet this summer, couple more chances to see us on the road with the Lombardi Trophy. Stop out Wednesday at Yuri's, Friday at Ventnor Social, or right now we are finishing out the day. We still have plenty more to do on this Monday, including Nick's Nuggets. Nick Earnshaw for another edition of the Nuggets coming up next right here on the Sports Pass Live. The Football at 4 is brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort. The place to be inside Ocean Casino for the football season. Come to the Fanatics Sportsbook. Go for the win. For more information, visit oceanac.com. We got plenty more Sports Bash coming up on 97.3 ESPN.
another after another. Find your wow at visitnj.org. New Jersey, little state, lot of wow.
From the Towns for New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Today and tomorrow are the coolest, cloudiest days of the week. We'll be back in the 80s by next weekend. Mostly cloudy tonight with patchy drizzle possible, low 64. Tomorrow feels like September weather with clouds and some sun, high 72.
30
Wednesday,
seconds.
mostly cloudy, chance of a shower, high 76. Sunny clouds Thursday, breezy, especially along the coast, high 79. Rough surf expected all week long due to Hurricane Erin. Get weather 24/7 or wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
All right, 431. Knicks Nuggets are brought to you by the Hub Gear that works as hard as you do. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. So, that was funny. So the Super Bowl's in San Francisco this year.
Can't wait.
Right? So we were looking at the schedule to see if the Warriors are at home, which they are.
They are.
They play the Sixers on Tuesday night, February the 3rd.
That is Super Bowl week.
We will be at Radio Row in San Francisco for that week. The Sixers play Tuesday night against the Warriors. So I sent out the screenshot of the Sixers playing at the Warriors to Scott Grayson, Pete G., Nicky Earnshaw, and Billy Schwein. That is the crew that goes to Radio Row. Grayson got back immediately and said, dude, that's awesome. Pete G is sitting next to me, so he knew immediately what I was talking about. And Earnshaw gave me the emoji of the eyes blinking, like, yeah, we're going. What do you think Schwein said?
Listen, Schwein is not very up to speed.
You're muted over there.
He's muted.
Yeah. Your big moment in the sun. Your big moment
was too big for him. Yeah.
The moment was too big for him. What do you think the Schwein
You got
said?
me now? You got me now? All right. Listen, he's not up to par and up to speed on all the technological advances. So I would assume that he probably didn't understand that you were setting him a scheduled date of, a game in San Francisco. And where is San Francisco this year? They are hosting the Super Bowl where Radio Row will be located.
So the picture I sent him, it says Tuesday, February 3rd, 10 p.m., San Francisco, Philadelphia 76ers. Now there's a button at the bottom that says find tickets, but I screenshotted it. So Schwein writes back, it looks like you sent me a ticket for the Sixers on Tuesday, February 3rd. I can't open what you sent me. Are you inviting me to the game?
He was so excited. He thought he was going to see
trying
Steph Curry.
I'm inviting him to a game in February 3rd in August.
You kind of are inviting him to the game.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured he would get like February in San Francisco like everybody else got it.
I would assume he probably tried clicking on the Find Tickets tab, not knowing it was a screenshot 100 times, and probably started freaking out. Because I have sent him clips or whatever before, and I've seen this happen live in studio. This happened before live. He was trying to send me a number for a guest while I was producing his show, and he accidentally airdropped it to me instead of texting it to me. And I go, oh, I got the number, Billy. You airdropped it to me. And you know what Billy says? What the bleep is an airdrop during the commercial break? So I could totally see this happen. It's hilarious.
The best part is he says that's a little obscure. I couldn't see if it was home or away. It says San Francisco 10 p.m. At what? When are the Sixers hosting a 10 p.m. home game?
Listen, you can't send me stuff like this that's this funny before I'm about to come on Nuggets. Like, we don't even have the microphone on. Like, I get all distracted, and I was laughing. I thought this was great because it reminded me of the what the bleep is an airdrop moment from the locker room last year.
I know what an airdrop is, like to hear it, but I don't have an iPhone, so I don't know what it means or what it does.
Yeah, you literally, it's just you send it through to an exact device instead of through text messages, essentially. That's all.
It sounds like something that's unnecessary.
It kind of is.
It is.
It's quick. It could be quicker sometimes than a text message, but it's very unnecessary.
The point is, and we
yes.
shouldn't lose it, that the Sixers are in San Francisco during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Tuesday night, we'll be there.
Does Embiid play? Can we figure that out now?
That's the place that knocked him out for the season last year.
I know.
Kuminga.
So maybe that'll be the place that starts his season
Now,
this year.
are they coming off of back-to-back? They have 16 back-to-backs this year. I believe that's second most in the league, if I'm not mistaken, or tied for second most.
I'd have a hard time thinking they would be on a back-to-back on the West Coast trip. That
Yeah, I mean, they got a lot of them, so it wouldn't surprise me because I think they play the Lakers around that time since they're out there. So they probably play the Clippers, the Lakers, probably one of those teams if I'm remembering kind of looking at the schedule correctly.
I'll tell you right now, February 5th, they play the Lakers. February 2nd, yep, they're on the back-to-back. They play the Clippers on Monday, and they play Golden State on Tuesday. They play the Lakers on Thursday.
So they got to go from one stadium in L.A. to Golden State and San Francisco back to L.A., essentially.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Yeah, he's not playing. I can guarantee you right now. I will take it to the bank and Embiid's not playing that game. Guaranteed. It's going to be a scheduled loss. That's what I'm looking at right there on the schedule.
Possible. By the way, an idiot texted us and says Gill doesn't know what an airdrop is. If you listen to what I said I do know what an airdrop is, but my phone doesn't do an airdrop because I don't have an iPhone.
Yeah, you have the freaking green message.
Yes, I know what an airdrop is. I said it's useless. It's a stupid thing that nobody needs. It gets suckers to buy the phone like you idiots.
I know. Listen, I enjoy that. I enjoy my iPhone.
I enjoy my iPhone, okay?
I enjoy it.
I know.
got no
Everybody
problem.
likes to follow the sheep and get the same thing everybody else has. I like to be unique, all right?
I understand it. You know, you, Josh, have the green message. My dad has the green message. He's out on the iPhone. It's the green message. It really throws me off. It throws me for a loop. Anyway, we got to get into the Nuggets right now. Zack Wheeler comes out today that he had a procedure on the blood clot. There's no timetable from his return, according to the Phillies. It just doesn't feel like he's going to be back for the rest of the year.
Nope.
You put out a poll question today, Mike Gill, and that's what I want to address first. Listen, if Zack Wheeler can't return to pitch this season, which it looks like he can the Phillies win the World Series? I mean, I'm not going to rule it out. I mean, yeah, the 2019 Nationals won a World Series 6 years ago. I'm not going to put it out. Does it hurt their chances? Absolutely. And Todd Zalecki was on the Phillies show and talked about what a blow this Wheeler injury is to the rotation. Take a listen to Todd.
Before the Wheeler stuff, of course, they're like, well, we need to give these guys a little bit of a blow going down the stretch because these guys are kind of wearing down. Now you lose Zack Wheeler. So Christopher Sanchez is approaching a career high in innings pitched. Ranger Suarez is struggling down the stretch here, and he needs a blow. So now they become even more important in terms of managing their workload, managing their health, keeping them sharp, keeping them fresh, going into the final few weeks of the season, going into the postseason. Because if you're not going to have Zack Wheeler, you really need to make sure you have Christopher Sanchez sharp. You really need to make sure that you have Ranger Suarez sharp.
And listen, they all have to be sharp heading into the postseason now, right? The depth of this rotation that we've talked about all year long, right? It's going to be tested now because now you don't have the Rock at the top of the rotation starting game one. Listen, Sanchez, he has been fantastic this year. He's in the Cy Young conversation. He's going to get elevated to that game one role. Is he going to be up for it? I mean, we'll see, but you're losing that Rock, and you have guys approaching career highs in innings. You see Ranger Suarez looking fatigued. Aaron Nola did not look great yesterday, Mike. He's coming off an injury. He should be the most rested out of the guys, but he hasn't pitched, so he's got to pitch his way back into the rotation. You know, he had a couple down in AAA, but this is a concern now. Like, we didn't think the rotation would be a concern. It's a little bit. Even though they have a lot of depth there, there's a giant concern now heading into the postseason.
Hey, listen, you know, it's not even to question Sanchez. Can he handle that role? Fine. Let's say he can, and he'll be an awesome ace. The problem is now your number two has dropped off because it was Sanchez. You had Wheeler, Sanchez. And by the way that the playoffs are set up, game one, then there's a day off. then Game 2. So it would set up that Wheeler could have came back and pitched Game 4, and that Sanchez could have came back and pitched Game 5. Now you don't have that setup anymore because you're probably going to have to pitch Christopher Sanchez in Game number 1, who, by the way, has no experience in being the main guy. Now, no one's saying he can't do it. This is just saying, hey, he's going to be in a spot now that he has never been in before. Then, who's the number 2? We were asking before, who's the number 3? Now you have to ask, who's not only the number 2, but now also the number 3? You got people today telling me, well, Taijuan Walker's been the next best guy. He deserves an opportunity. Let me tell you something. There is a 0.0% chance that Taijuan Walker gets a start in the playoff game. 0.0. Now, who pitches the second game? Don't have that answer. Who pitches the third game? I don't have that answer. But I know who it's not going to be. Taijuan Walker. It's not going to be Taijuan Walker. But this is why this is big. Because now that Sanchez is 1, you need to figure out who 2 is and also who number 3 is. And that has really rocked this rotation. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, and now it's like we were having the conversation, all right, who's going to be the extra guy to go to the bullpen? Well, that's kind of out the window now. Now you need all your starters. Now you need a Luzardo. Now you need a Ranger in the postseason, right? So at this point, I mean, maybe one of those guys, maybe it's a Luzardo. If Aaron Nola can come back and figure it out, you go Sanchez, Ranger, Nola. I mean, is that the 3 that you go with? At this point, Luzardo's the guy to come out. I don't know how this is going to work. Do you want Ranger in that spot now to start because he's been there, done that, and pitched well in postseason games before? Same with Nola. Nola's had really good starts in the postseason as well. Is that what you do? They are good enough. Like, they are good enough to get by. We saw the Los Angeles Dodgers have a lot of injuries on their pitching staff last year and win a World Series. It's very possible they could still make a run. I wouldn't rule it out, but it's not. I'm not confident. It's not that, but
well, listen, if you thought the Phillies were a long shot before, right? I mean, hey, you got Milwaukee right now. Milwaukee's like 7 games up on you in the standings or something to that effect. You've got the Padres, you've got the Dodgers, you've got the Mets. I mean, it's going to be, no matter what team you line up against in the playoffs, the Cubs, it's a battle. There's no team that you're like, that's the team I want to. Any of the teams that make the playoffs, it's going to be a battle. And now you're doing it without your best weapon. It's probably the one guy that you could say, you know, you could make a case that, hey, if you didn't have Bryce Harper, okay, I don't want to go without Bryce Harper, but I can move Bohm to first base. I could play someone at third, and the offense is what it is anyway.
Well, the offense has to pick you up now. Like, I mean, you can't win games 2-1 anymore. That's out the window. You're going to have to score 5 runs. 5-3, 5-4, right? I mean,
well, the offense was always going to have to score, Pete. Like, they were always going to have to score.
Well, not in Zack Wheeler starts or even Sanchez starts.
No. So you lost last year in the Zack Wheeler starts because they couldn't score more than 1 run. I mean, by the way, the odds right now, the Dodgers are plus 360. Philadelphia is still plus 650. They are the second best odds to win the World Series. So I have a hard time with that.
It's not over. I don't think the season's over. Like, I wouldn't go that far. We talked about they still have a good staff. Like, this is still a good pitching staff. However, they're looking worn down. Ranger Suarez looking worn down. That's the problem. You got to get them to the postseason and hope they can really turn it on during that time. Listen, this is you're happy for Zack Wheeler. They were able to get the procedure done. They found it when they did. Blood clot, just for his sake of health as a human being, finding that blood clot, huge. So, but as for the baseball side of it, I don't think there's any way he comes back this year. I don't think it happens at all. The blood thinner stuff, I know that's probably going to be, part of his rehab and getting back just to normal. And remember, this is on his throwing arm, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah,
so
right upper extremity.
The guys, is he going to throw 97 again, 96 again? Is the arm going to be the same? Like, that's the baseball side of it. You don't know at this point. And, he doesn't have much longer anyway. According to him, he was going to retire in 2 years. So they don't know anything. Rob Thompson spoke to the media just a little while ago and, didn't give very much. So that's where you're at with the Phillies. I wouldn't say it's over, but the odds have taken a hit, even though the odds haven't taken a hit literally from the books.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I said at the beginning of the show, and I'll reiterate it. I don't see him pitching again this year, and it's sad. It's unfortunate. Good that they caught it. He got the procedure, and he seemingly will be okay as a human being.
Yep.
But in the competition sense of things, in what we cover here, I do not see him pitching again this year. And
Nope.
to me, without him pitching this year, I don't see the Phillies as a.
He was really the only constant guy on this team that where you could count on to have a dominant performance.
He's been one of the best post-game performers. You know, they don't win every single time, but you're giving up 1-2 runs.
Yeah.
I mean, so even as bad as your offense has been, if you can win 3-2, 2-1, he gives you that chance in those big postseason moments. If I thought they were one of the top 3 teams, you know, if I said, hey, I think that Milwaukee, the Dodgers, and the Padres are better, and then I got to put them behind almost every one of those teams at this point.
Is the window, is this it? Is this it for the window? I mean, is this the end of pretty much an era? Like, is this the beginning? Does it feel like that? If you're a fan watching this all play out right now, does it feel like the end of this kind of era of Phillies baseball?
Or do they say this thing got cut short? We never know what was going to happen.
That's what I mean.
We'll
Is
run
it
it back.
the beginning of the end? That's
no,
what I'm
we'll run it back.
Well, if they lose in the wild card round, then no.
Well, I'm saying, do they look at it and say, hey, we'll never know what would have happened if we had Zack Wheeler?
Yep. I mean, you could. That could be the end of this era. It's like, man, if they had Zack Wheeler for that year.
Here's the thing. This era, if they do not win a World Series this year and they come up short, they have to do something with this offense to change the complexity. You cannot bring – I don't see a scenario where you can bring Nick Castellanos back again next year and go through this whole thing again. He's on the last year of his deal next year, so you should be able to get somebody to take him off your hands if you pay half of his salary or something just to say, we need to shake this up and change it. I mean, quite frankly, now I know he had a good game yesterday. Good for him. He's unplayably bad at this point. He's unplayably bad at this point, and now it's becoming the situation that the Kepler thing was, where nobody wants to see him in the lineup.
Yeah, it's not ending the way I think most people thought. It just feels like there's still going to be a competitive team, I feel like, next year anyway, but it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel like they're going to be that contender as they once were.
Let me ask you, like, what is this team going to look like 5 years from now with a 5-year older Harper and a 5-year older Turner? And I don't know, they're going to bring back Real Muto. Are they going to sign Schwarber? And let's say he signs for a 4-year deal. I mean, what are they going to look like in that 5th year? The last year of Schwarber, the last year of Harper, not the last year of Harper. How many more years for Harper?
Yeah, I listen. I think for the Phillies right now, this team could look a lot different next year, and I think you're going to see a lot of the young bucks who they did not trade away, the Painters, the Crawfords, the Millers. They're going to be up quickly. And it might not be this season at the end here in September, but they're going to be up quickly. All right, before I get out of here, this was a nugget I do want to hit, nugget number 2. Rob Manfred was on the Little League broadcast last night.
I knew you were going to ask this question.
And he made a profound statement regarding realignment, expansion, and TV deals. I want you guys to take a listen to what Rob Manfred had to say here.
I think if we expand, it provides us with an opportunity to geographically realign. I think we could save a lot of wear and tear on our players in terms of travel. And I think our postseason format would be even more appealing for, entities like ESPN, because you'd be playing up out of the East, out of the West, and that 10 o'clock time slot where we, sometimes get Boston, Anaheim, would be 2 West Coast teams, and that 10 o'clock slot that's a problem for us sometimes becomes a real opportunity for our West Coast audience.
Now, the big part of that is the realignment aspect and the positivity he showed through that. Mike, your reaction, I mean, that could mean end of American League, end of National League. You could be in the same division as the New York Yankees. Why?
Yeah, Jim Bowden over at The Athletic tweeted out or posted somewhere today, it would be 4 8-team divisions is kind of the way that he sees it, and it would be the Yankees, the Mets, the Phillies, and the Red Sox.
Yep.
That would be your division.
Bring it on, man. I would love that.
You like this idea?
Yes.
I'll be honest. This is kind of cool. It's kind of cool to think about. It's like,
yeah, man.
It's like playing MLB The Show a little bit here, right? Like, and realigning, creating everything from scratch. I mean, this is a radical thing and would be a massive change to the way baseball operates. Massive.
Oh, it would be absolutely massive. Now, he's talking
It's already
about
trending that direction. I mean, the Phillies play the Yankees every year now.
Well, when they did this whole thing with the interleague play, and the Phillies played like 20 straight games against interleague teams.
Yeah.
So the interleague thing has really made the American League thing and the National League thing kind of like, weak a little bit. But here was Jim Bowden's, realignment ideas here. This is from The Athletic. The East would be the Red Sox, Mets, Yankees, and Phillies. The North would be the Reds, Guardians, Tigers, Blue Jays. The Mid-Atlantic is the Orioles, then a Charlotte expansion team with the Pirates and the Nationals. The Southeast would be the Braves, Marlins, the Nashville expansion team, and the Rays. And then you would go to the Midwest with the Cubs, White Sox, Brewers, Twins. The Southwest with the Astros, Royals, Cardinals, Rangers. The Pacific Coast would be the Rockies, A's, Mariners, and Giants. And then the West would be the Diamondbacks, Angels, Dodgers, and Padres. And he's basically saying, like, you could make it geographically better. And I don't know, are the teams in the Eastern Hemisphere not going to play the teams in the West? Like, because he's talking about these 10 o'clock games and all that stuff. There'd have to be a lot of explanation on all that stuff.
It would be like East and West, right? Like NBA and NHL, they do it pretty much.
Yep, that's what would essentially happen. It's crazy that he even said it on the broadcast in that positive light. I'll tell you guys.
He said a lot of stuff on that broadcast last night that I thought were a little interesting. All right, that's the Nuggets today. They're brought to you by The Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. Tell Billy that game is in San Francisco on Tuesday, February 3rd.
Get tickets, Billy.
I'll give him a call.
Get the Airbnb ready, Nuggets.
Tell him I'm going to airdrop those tickets to him. See what
we'll airdrop him the tickets when we get there. See you guys.
We're live at the Fanatics Sportsbook here at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Final hour of the show coming up next right here. We've got observations on the Eagles preseason, thoughts on their trade, and the big news surrounding the Phillies, all coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. All right, 5 o'clock hour live at the Fanatics Sportsbook here at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Mike Gill and the Sports Bash. We're brought to you this hour by Whitehorse RV Center in Williamstown and Galloway. Don't miss out on the red tag clearance event going on now at Whitehorse RV. Your RV adventure starts at Whitehorse RV, Williamstown, Galloway. Phil's tonight taking on the Seattle Mariners.
Big dumpers in town.
A lot of bombs, right?
Yeah.
Who hits more home runs in the series? Cal Raleigh or Kyle Schwarber?
That's a good question. I'm going to go tie. Can I go tie?
What, 2-2?
Yeah, 2-2.
Over under 1.5 on both?
Yeah.
68 and 57. The Mariners are game and a half behind the Astros in the American League West. The Phillies are 71 and 53. First place in the National League East. They'll battle tonight at Citizens Bank Park. It's Ranger Suarez getting the ball tonight for Philadelphia, and the pitching matchup is Suarez and Gilbert. There you go, the pitching matchup.
This is a big matchup for Suarez, I think, just to make the fans feel at ease. We just lost Wheeler probably for the season. We're going to have to count on Ranger moving forward. It's a big spot for him.
I feel like all these starts, I talked about this in the back of the 2 o'clock hour. Think about how different July 15th is from August 15th. And then 1 month from now to today, how different things. I mean, yesterday, you got the news on Saturday, early evening that Wheeler had this blood clot. And yesterday was, okay, you got Aaron Nola coming back. Can Aaron Nola, who had 9 starts before the season started, before the injury, I should say, and they were bad. He was
Awful.
1-7 with an ERA in the 6s and a whip of 1.5. He did nothing yesterday to make you feel like, okay, Nola could be back to that number 2, number 3 guy. That was a really big start. Now, I'm not going to rule Nola completely out. I know he hadn't pitched in a while, but I don't feel great about Nola. I'll say that. But Suarez is a guy that you generally do feel pretty good about, but you do not feel good about what you've seen from Suarez in his last couple of starts here. So I think between now, August 15th, and October 1st, when the season ends, Suarez, Luzardo, Nola, I really don't think Taijuan Walker's an option, but I'll throw his name into the mix. Those 4 guys are battling for 3 spots in the rotation in that division series.
If Walker outpitches Luzardo, and he really has been the last few months, do you feel differently?
No.
You still give it to Luzardo, even if that happens? Like, Walker's not going to go out there and be Cy Young. We know that.
I would ask this question. We know it's Christopher Sanchez right now would be your number 1. Okay? Christopher Sanchez would be your number 1. Who's your number 2 right now? If I say who's pitching the second game right now, who's pitching?
I would lean towards Nola.
Nola?
If Nola can get it together,
Ooh.
I would lean toward. I mean, obviously he's not going to give up 6 earned runs to the Nationals every time.
The only reason I think you're not off base entirely on this is because Suarez is left-handed, Luzardo is left-handed. They want to split the lefties up, so you would go with Sanchez, Nola, and then the other guy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I don't see Taijuan Walker getting that start over Aaron Nola.
Can I ask the dumb question of why it's important to split them up?
Well, you get so many teams in baseball now that platoon their players. Contrary to many people's belief, the Phillies aren't the only team that platoon players. So a lot of times you want to try to get guys like not, out of their rhythm where they get to see a lefty 2 days in a row, and then the right-handed batters get 2 straight days in the lineup, as opposed to if you flip it, then the guy doesn't get to hit 2 days. You know what I'm saying? Like the platoon guys don't get to get into like a rhythm of where like they get 4 at-bats one day, then they get to hit again the next day.
But the 96 Yankees won a World Series with 3 lefters and left-handers in the pitching rotation for the postseason. So what's...
Yeah, you just said the key thing there, the 96 Yankees. There wasn't too many teams platooning like you do. I mean, the Phillies really run out 3 to 4 different platoons sometimes, and so do a lot. I mean, a lot of teams, contrary to many people's belief, the Phillies aren't the only team that platoon guys. I mean, almost every single team in the league has 2 to 3 platoons
But
going.
part of the reason why you platoon, though, is you're also neutralizing what is other teams' best hitters, which in some cases are left-handers.
Well, a lot of those guys like Kyle Schwarber or Bryce Harper, they're in the lineup regardless.
No, I'm talking about the other team, the teams that are facing the Phillies.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying those guys are in the lineup regardless. Like, you're not taking Juan Soto out of the lineup.
Francisco Lindor, you're not taking out of the lineup.
Well, he's a switch hitter.
He's a switch hitter.
True.
But it's, Lindor has a lower batting average right-handed than he does left-handed, for example.
Yeah, but those guys, you're not like the superstar players. You're not taking them into account as much as is the secondary guys. Like, hey, if I can get so-and-so not to hit 2 days in a row, listen, these teams, they all try to find little mind games that can help win the thing. Am I saying, like, do they overthink these things? Probably. But that's the reason why a lot of teams don't like to have, if you're a right-handed hitter and you get 2 straight days of seeing a lefty, you start to get more comfortable seeing a left-handed pitcher, as opposed to if you see a righty one day, then you switch to a lefty, then you go back. It's less comfortability, and everything in baseball is about making the hitter the least comfortable as possible.
I hear you. I just feel like if my best 3 pitchers heading into the postseason, if the scenario is that Sanchez, Luzardo, and Suarez are my 3 best pitchers, I don't see a scenario where I'm not starting them 1, 2, 3 in the division series because I'm worried about breaking them up.
That's not generally, like, this situation's weird because the Phillies have 3 lefties in their rotation.
Well, that's why it was set up perfectly to go Wheeler, Sanchez, Nola, really, in the postseason.
I think if it was so definitive that they were your best 3, I don't think the Phillies would hesitate to do it. I think what comes into play is when it's not definitive that they're your best 3. That is when that's what I'm saying. When it's not definitive, then you would try to not throw 3 straight lefties if it's not definitive that they're your best 3. You know what I'm saying?
But right now, the only other guy who I think you can – the problem with what you said, Pete, is that you mentioned Nola. Well, what if the Nola we saw yesterday is the Nola for the rest of the year, where he's good for 2-3 innings, then he implodes?
Well, then that's on Rob Thompson to pull the cord when he has to. We know that things are
solving the postseason
differently,
rotation.
But things are managed differently in the postseason. We all know that. I mean –
well, for instance, Juan Soto against lefties this year is hitting .221. Against righties, he's hitting .265. So you would say, hey, if I could get a lefty against Soto,
right,
and 8 of his at-bats are against a left-handed pitcher potentially, right? I mean, you get 4 at-bats a game. That doesn't mean that the lefty's going to throw all 8 of your at-bats. But I can understand a team saying, look, they're best, but they also have Pete Alonso. So you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not, you're just not game planning for one hitter.
Sure.
You've got now Alonso gets to face a left-hander 2 days in a row. So do you want to say, I don't want Alonso getting to face a lefty twice 2 days in a row.
Unless they're my better pitcher, because Aaron Nola is just giving up home runs left and right.
But it goes back to the question you asked. Why do these teams do this? Well, because inevitably there's a right-handed hitter in the lineup that mashes lefties.
Right.
So you don't want to give him a chance to see lefties 2 days in a row. That's like a team, if they can avoid throwing right-handers against the Phillies, they're going to do it. So if they could split their righties up, they're obviously going to do it against the Phillies, right?
And that's why this whole scenario makes me nervous for the one reason that you brought up in the last hour, Mike, about Taijuan Walker. If we get to the postseason and Taijuan Walker is one of my 3 best pitchers going into the postseason, yikes.
I don't see a scenario where he gets a start. I'm sorry. Do you guys disagree with it? Do people out there listening disagree? I know people have said, well, he's been the guy who's been your most consistent guy.
Who would you rather? So let's say it's the NLCS.
I'll tell you, before you ask the question,
yes,
Walker will be last in all my answers.
That's fine, but let me lay out the scenario. And Pete, Pete, and Nick talked about this while you were gone, Mike. So that's why I'm bringing it up.
Okay. I just want to throw this in real quick.
Yeah.
Pete Alonso against righties is 289. Against lefties, he's 213, which is odd because
that's the opposite.
Obviously, right. He's a right-handed hitter. You would think he would be much better.
You're just giving more stats for my argument here. Thank you. But
well,
you could go to the Dodgers.
I'm saying against the Mets,
maybe
you look at that differently than you would a different team.
True. That's very true.
Now, the Mets are a team like the Phillies that have multiple platoons.
Yes.
They have like 3 platoons, the Mets do. I know people think that the Phillies are the only team that platoon, but the Mets have They
well, I don't
platoon
listen.
all over the place.
I'm not going to give credibility to some rando guy with a fake avatar on Twitter who wants to argue about platoons in baseball. Okay, so let's get to the real question, which is Ranger Suarez has struggled exceptionally since the All-Star break. 3 of his last 5 starts, he's allowed 4 or more runs in those starts. If Ranger keeps pitching the way he is, and you get to the postseason, in a postseason game, and your options are either start Suarez and bring Walker out of the bullpen, or start Walker and bring Ranger out of the bullpen, which are you going with?
So you're saying from now till October, Ranger has just been mediocre.
Yes.
I think he's the guy. He's a guy that you have to consider for the bullpen.
Or do you start him and say, Ranger, you're only going 2-3 innings. Walker, you're coming in on the dovetail end.
I'd rather have Walker start a clean game, clean inning.
And then go to Ranger?
And then go from there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rangers last 30 days, 5 starts. His ERA is almost 7. Not good. So if he's pitching like this, yeah, I mean you can't start him in a game if he's pitching like this and nothing's changing and this is who he is.
But most of those starts, he's not giving up runs early in the game in many of those starts. He's giving up runs later in the game. It's the second and third time he gets through a lineup. So is there
Which would be another reason why you wouldn't start him.
But then
because if you're saying he can't get deep into these games, then I don't want to start you if I have to take you out in the 4th or 5th inning.
So then,
but that's the problem with Walker.
Yeah.
Walker's been pitching well, but he doesn't get out of the 5th inning generally.
That's what I was going to ask, though. Would you rather say Walker goes 4 or 5 innings and Ranger comes in, or do you tell Nola, give me your best for 3 innings, and tell Ranger, give me your best for 3 innings?
These are all bad scenarios all of a sudden.
Yeah. But these are real scenarios. These are the
this
decisions.
is right. This is what has now materialized
The
because
domino
of
effect.
Wheeler.
Yes.
Is now you're saying, again, I go back to, if Sanchez is your definitive number 1 guy, who is your definitive number 2? You had one in Sanchez. You now don't.
And that's why you have to consider the question, where does Ranger and Taijuan Walker fit into this? Because
Here is what I think you really need to consider. And I know it sounds ridiculous because he hasn't pitched well either, is you've got to call up Andrew Painter and hope that he's just bored as hell down there pitching in the AAA, just waiting for his chance to come up, and that all of a sudden pitching at the big lights brings out the best in him, and that maybe you get a guy who, because quite frankly, he probably has the most potential of all the guys that you have on this roster right now. He's the guy with the stuff. He's the guy that has, the first-round pick stuff in his arsenal. He just hasn't been able to command it so much right now. Now, he seemingly was turning the corner. I had talked to some people who covered him down there and said his command was way off. Then he had a couple starts in a row where his command looked like he was finally – think like Sandy Alcantara. How bad has he been for most of this season?
Right.
Coming off Tommy John surgery. This guy was a Cy Young Award winner. And he has just not been able to get the command back. You would think next year Alcantara would be back to okay, I kind of can command my stuff again. I have a better feel for stuff. So I don't know that Painter is going to be able to find that this season at all. And I think the Phillies are kind of telling you that because he's not up here. And there's, quite frankly, they
do have an excuse now, though, to bring him up. With the Wheeler news, they do have a perfect
they still don't really
excuse
have,
to
unless
bring
they
him
want
up.
to go back to go to a 6-man rotation. They still don't have an opening in the rotation in terms of 5. They have Wheeler, they have Walker, Nola, Luzardo, Sanchez, and Suarez. They do have 5 starters. They really don't need to bring him up. But the question is, do they need to find out if they can find
That's
a guy
my point, really,
who is
they have the built-in excuse as, yes, you can bring him up to see what he does.
Guys, here's what Ruben Amaro Jr. said on the Philly Show podcast this morning about Andrew Painter.
I get a little concerned about the player pitching development, because if you have a guy this talented and he hasn't really developed, and we haven't seen other pitchers other than maybe Abel, who made the adjustment mentally to put himself in a position for the Phillies to be able to acquire a guy like Joan Duran, that's huge. I'm not sure what's going on down there. When you talk about can't miss prospects, he was close to one of those, as close to one I've seen. And for him to sort of work his way backwards right now, I'm not sure what's happening.
Those are fair things to question and ask. I would say, how much is the Tommy John recovery? You know, I go to Sandy Alcantara. In this season, in April, he had a 9.28 ERA. In May, an 8.64. And then June, 4.34, 4.66. You know, he has gotten a little bit better progressively. His last start, he pitched well. His last 30 days, he's pitched pretty well. 5 starts, 30 innings, 25 hits, a 3.60 ERA. Now, he's not the Sandy Alcantara that won a Cy Young, but he's seemingly starting to get a little bit better. But you're talking about a guy who was a Cy Young Award winner and was so bad that they couldn't trade him.
Yeah.
He was so bad this year that they couldn't trade him. I mean, for the season, he's terrible. 6-11 with a 6.31 ERA. But in his last month, he has actually pitched a little bit better here. Listen, I don't know that Painter, and listen, I have high expectations for Painter. I think he was a guy that you couldn't trade, all that stuff. Do I think he's going to come up here and dazzle? We had said before, well, what if you brought this guy up and he turns into a guy and has an impact like a Paul Skeens? I don't think that's happening now. I think that ship has sailed for this year. But can he be a guy that...
Can you just bring him up and throw him into the fire and see what happens? And if he fails, like he's been failing in AAA, send him back down.
They only have 4 off days the rest of the season, I think. I think they have 4 off days the rest of the year. So you're going to have situations where I think some guys are going to be tired. You're going to need to skip some guys or give an extra day. So I would not be shocked if in the month of September. Now, the question is he the September call-up? Remember, you only get 1 now.
Yeah, you get 1 pitcher, 1 hitter.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you get 1 pitcher, 1 hitter, then you could say Crawford would be one and he would be the other.
Right.
By the way, you're correct. There are only 4 off days the rest of the calendar year for the Phillies.
So
that's great, man. Phillies baseball on every week.
So,
I mean, every day.
Because you got this Thursday is the last day off you have this month.
Okay.
And then in September, it's the day after Labor Day. Then you have another off day until the 18th.
By the way, Labor Day, Monday, right here on 97.3 ESPN, we'll have Phillies baseball. I think they play the Brewers, right?
That is correct, sir.
That's going to be a big
series, man.
Big series.
Yeah,
I don't like this whole pitching thing, and people can text in 609-403-0973. I look, I'm as big on calling up the young guys and giving them a shot as anybody. You know, it's baffling to me. Let me take you through my mindset on this Crawford thing real quick, okay? The Phillies outfield's is a mess, right?
Yes.
It's been a mess all year. Here's the problem as I see it. You traded for Bader, who, by the way, is not in the lineup tonight. It seemed like they were starting to give Bader the center field job against righties and lefties. Well, today he's facing a righty. He's not in the lineup. You got Marsh playing center field. You got Kepler playing left field today. Where's Crawford playing today? If he was on this roster today, where's he playing?
He's not.
There's your problem.
Yeah, he's not playing.
Because here's the other problem. Because of their unwillingness to bench and or platoon Nick Castellanos is like road blocking everybody.
Yep.
Because tonight, what you could potentially do, you're facing a right-handed pitcher. You could play Crawford in center, Marsh in left, and Kepler in right. But because they are unwilling to bench or platoon Castellanos, this is why Crawford. Now you would say, who cares about these other guys? We go back to the whole conversation. Nick Castellanos making $20 million. You're not walking up to that guy and saying, dude, you're benched. It's not happening. Now, could you say, dude, you're platooning? Maybe.
Well, I think this is where, we don't know all the dynamics behind the scenes, but there's almost this attitude sometimes, Mike, where it's like they're so willing to bench other guys and not Castellanos. And Thompson's answer for over the last couple of years has always been, well, Nick wants to play every day. And it's just like, That's not an answer. It's like
I don't care what he says though. He's got.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's got to be a dynamic above Rob Thompson.
Guess what? You know who else wants to play every day? Rafael Marchand. I mean, but guess what? You're not making $20 million, Rafael Marchand.
That's why
You're
saying
not getting the chance to play every day. Everybody wants to play every day, but guess what? You paid Nick to play every day. You set the precedence when you gave him that money. And that precedence was, you're our guy, you're the man, you're playing every day. So then once you pay him that money, he gets that right to say, you paid me to play every day. Now, should there be some give and take to say, hey, man, you're really struggling here? I think they've started that. In the last 9 days, he sat twice. That's rare, right? He never sat at all last year.
No, he played all 62 last year.
They are starting, I think. Look, you still have almost 2 months left in the season, a little under 2 months. I think they're starting slowly. Look, this is a chip away thing. You can't just take the hammer and smash it down and say you're benched. I think you have to slowly be like, Chip, you're benched today. Chip, 5 days later, we're going to let you sit today. I think it's a slow process that you don't want to linger with a month and a half left. And then playoff time comes around, you say, hey, listen, we got to play the best guys. Hopefully. But that's why I think Crawford, he's left-handed. That's one problem. So if he's the platoon guy, he's playing 5 out of 7 days, most likely, because you don't see lefty pitchers as much. But then what does that mean for Bader? Are you going to platoon Crawford and Bader? Probably not. Brandon Marsh, he's the lefty. So you're not going to play Crawford in left field.
And he's really the one guy who has earned playing time. The past 2 months, he's the one guy who's earned it.
Marsh, you're exactly right, Pete. Marsh has said, listen, I know I stunk. I got demoted for the most part. And now I'm back, and you gave me a chance. And what has he done with that? In June, he hit in May, he hit 298.
What was his April average? 0, right? He didn't have an hit.
Zero. He had no hits in April.
That's unbelievable.
In May, he hit 298. In June, he hit 324. In July, he hit 271. And now in August, he's hitting 314. So Brandon Marsh is saying, you're going to call this kid up and bench me? I don't deserve to be benched. And he's not wrong. The problem with Marsh is he hasn't had the power numbers. He hasn't driven the ball. But he hasn't done anything to say, I deserve to be benched. Now, you would say, what about Kepler? Kepler deserves to be benched. Okay, fine. But Crawford doesn't play right field. That's another problem. So the Crawford thing is a problem in terms of the fit right now. 609-403-0973. Hit us up on the text board. More Sports Bash coming up live from the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. This hour brought to you by Whitehorse RV Center. Your RV adventure starts at Whitehorse RV, Williamstown, Galloway. All right, Sports Bash Live here at the Fanatics Sportsbook, Ocean Casino Resort, Atlantic City. A little chilly day. It felt like a fall football day there, PG.
Fake fall.
I
Fake
like
fall.
it. I'm
Yep.
ready.
Are you?
ready. Yeah.
That's all it took was one day.
No, you know what it's taken? Crowds, people, ignoramuses.
Yeah. A lot of people do not know where they're going, man. I'll tell you that.
Oh, man. It's just insanity. Just craziness. Yeah, I'm done. I'm ready. I was away. You're away from here for a little while. You come back, and then you're right back to the crowds, and you're just like, all right, I don't need this. I know the businesses depend on the crowds.
They sure do.
You know what, though, yesterday? I will say this. My girlfriend and I went out to get something to eat. We each got a sub, half a sub. Half a sub, both got a drink and a soup. What do you think that cost?
I did see this tweet, so I do know the answer.
Were you surprised by the tweet?
Yes.
What should that cost?
2 subs, 2 drinks, and
Half a sub, not a full sub.
So a 6-incher.
Well, I'm at like a sub shop. So like one of your classic local sub shops, you know, in the area.
Right. I would probably say $35 for all that.
Josh, did you see the tweet?
I did not.
What do you think it cost for 2 half a subs? Got a cheesesteak.
Oh, cheesesteak. So now we're talking, okay.
Yeah, we're at like a sub shop.
So
but it's not a cold cut. It's a cheesesteak.
We got a cheesesteak was one of the subs, and the other one was chicken cutlet, broccoli rabe, red roasted peppers.
And they're not fulls or halves.
They're both halves.
Okay, so they're both about 8 inches. I would say.
What are you talking about? They're a sub from a sub shop.
They're halves, right?
Halves. I didn't go to a freaking Wawa. I didn't get a shorty. I went to a sub shop.
Yeah, but there's a difference in the size here and the cost.
I would say there's a difference in the type.
Let's say, okay, I'll give you an
here.
example. Now, I did not go to Vic subs or Sacco subs or Dino subs or White House, but something in that family of sub. Right. That's the style of sandwich shop that I went to, but it was not any of those places.
But it
was not the White House.
Right.
It was not Pete's. It wasn't.
But you got 2.
My girlfriend and I went. We went and got lunch.
2 separate
She
ones.
got us half a cheesesteak, and I got chicken cutlet, broccoli rabe, red roasted peppers. We both got a half. I got soup, and we both got a drink.
So now you want me to guess how much I think it was, how it should be, and how much I think it was.
How much do you think it was?
I said 35.
Well, based on the way you're talking about it sounded like it was probably 44.
He knew the answers because he saw the tweet.
Pete saw the tweet.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, his answer of 35 is what he thinks it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Right. What do you think it was, and what do you think it should be? Now, what do you think it should be?
I think it should be probably around 25.
Okay. And what do you think it was?
Where are you going for that?
44.
Right.
$25 for all that?
Yeah.
In this
well,
economy?
I mean, realistically.
You asked me what I thought I should be, okay? I didn't factor in economics.
You can't even go to Wawa and get that.
I mean,
get that
Gill
order.
Gill criticized me for being literal. Now you're being the literal one over there.
What does a shorty cost these days? I've been to Wawa.
I think it's $6.
$4? Gina says $4.
I think
I'm
it's
looking
higher
it up right
than
now.
that.
I'm
I think it's
putting the
in the
Wawa
6.
menu.
I mean, I haven't been to Wawa for a shorty.
A shorty costs $5.
$5. Okay.
Plus tax, so.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
So you say you think it was $44.
Yes, I'm guessing. It was
Okay.
44.
So 2 half sandwiches, a drink. We both got a drink. I got a birch beer, and she had a Stewart's cream soda.
So the drinks are probably not the 50 now.
And the drinks are bottled drinks,
Well,
right?
I included the drinks in the original.
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
There
So
was
now
2 drinks.
Are they bottled?
They're bottled.
Okay, that makes
2
a difference.
drinks,
Yeah.
a soup, and 2 halves a sandwich.
I'm up to $50 now.
Yeah. The bill was $50. 50.
There you go, Josh.
I said, all right. Now, again, I'm not
Really quick
complaining or
question.
anything
We
here,
don't,
but
we, don't, we don't need you to name the place, but were you on the mainland or on the island?
I was not on the island,
Okay,
which
so
adds to it.
This makes it worse.
So right, exactly. I'm not in a beach town. I am now off the island.
Oh man, this is a bad. This had to be the greatest sandwich of all time, was it?
It was good. I'm not ripping the place at all. I just thought it was. My point is this. Okay, $50. That's what it is. I'm not complaining about that. My thought was this. You got two kids riding their bikes around town. Hey, you want to go get a sub? What two kids have $50 on them for a freaking sub?
They got mommy and daddy's credit card, obviously.
There you go. Right, Pete? Yes, Pete said it for me.
That's sad, though. Like, seriously, two kids are going to walk in. They're both going to be like, hey, we're looking for something to eat. I'll have a half a cheesesteak, a soda. I said, take the soup out.
Do kids even ride bikes anymore?
No, those electric bikes.
Electric bikes.
That's not riding a bike. That's basically like a fancy scooter.
No. Well, I will say this. Like, I grew up on the island. You would ride your bike up and down that island all day long. People, like, when was the last time you saw kids riding on each other's handlebars?
Years. Yeah, I used to do that all the time.
Exactly. I mean, you just rode by, somebody jumped on your handlebars all day long. But, no, kids aren't riding bikes around that much. They're those e-bikes. But anyway, that was my thought was, okay, $50. Do I think it's overpriced? Absolutely. I think $50 for two sandwiches, a soup, and, two drinks I thought was preposterous. That being said, who cares about me? I'm talking about two kids riding their bikes around. They're like, hey, you want to go get a sandwich? Like, we used to do this all the time. Like, jumped into Dino's, Sacco's, wherever, and ordered two sandwiches and whatever. $50. $50.
Yeah. It's insane. So I said that has to be the greatest sandwich of all time or it's not worth it.
Oh, yeah.
It was a good sandwich.
The question is, are you going to go back there knowing that it's $50?
I don't really have much of a choice.
Okay. So the price obviously did not scare you away.
To be fair, I'm not like the prices are what they are. I mean, that's what it is today. What are we going to do? Just not go out and enjoy yourself for a meal?
Well, it's like I had a conversation with somebody about this last week. I went out to a local establishment that will remain unnamed, and I had a meal and I had a couple of drinks. I look at the price at the end, and I verbally, not thinking, because me being me, I was like, I guess that makes sense. And the bartender looks at me and says, you guess that makes sense? And I says, well, considering it's 2025 and not like 2015. And the bartender like rolled their eyes at me. I was like, oh, great, thanks.
He did not enjoy that comment from you.
Nope.
Ray in EHC says, I used to work at the White House in Atlantic City. A half a sub is now $15. A whole sub is around $30. So two halves is $30. Soup is probably another $10. That's probably $40. Cost almost $60. Ray, man, you're right on it.
Get chips next time instead of the soup.
Get ready to teach a math class.
Well, I think my sandwich, I ordered the sandwich. I didn't even look at the price. And then when I ordered the sandwich, I looked at the menu. I said, this sandwich is $18.
Wow. I mean, does it make a difference? You could get a Italian hoagie. Is that cheaper than
I think the cheesesteak was $15. So I think mine was $18 and hers was $15. And then the soup was like $8. And then the two drinks were like maybe $4 a piece.
I would say they're probably $4 a piece because they're in the bottle, right?
Yeah.
That's wild.
I mean, terrible, right?
It's terrible because of the fact that it's not like people's are getting paid more necessarily. We're all making basically the same amount of money we were, but we're having to pay more money to live.
Yeah, it's by the way, somebody tweeted at me. My fiance and I just ate at Texas Roadhouse off the early dine menu in EHC. 2 entrees, 2 sides, 2 cocktails for $47.
That's a great
So we got a
deal.
steak and everything for less than $50.
Great deal.
Yeah, I should have done that.
I should have hung out with that guy.
Yeah, this is like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, though. I wasn't quite ready. It's funny. So we initially went out to go to one place, and they said they were open till 3 o'clock, and we got there at like 2:47, and they were closed already.
That's a no bueno.
Right?
Yep.
Poll question at Mike Gill Show. If Zack Wheeler can't return to pitch this season, can the Phillies win the World Series? 42% say no, they need an ace. 33% say they weren't winning with Wheeler, and 24% say yes, they still have good enough pitching.
So that's kind of where I am, where they really were going to have a tough time winning with him because of the offense. They just are so inconsistent where they're going to lose you games.
The offense is
so inconsistent.
The offense is the same problem it's been, and Harrison Bader hasn't fixed that.
Because it's the same group of guys that have been here for the last 4 years.
That's the problem that I have. They did not change, much like Austin Hayes last year. They didn't change the dynamics of the lineup really at all. It's just the same stale, stiff lineup. And by the way, I was thinking about this yesterday. I was driving up to Philly. I was listening to a podcast with Geoff Passan. And he's talking about the whole situation. I don't know how my mind got to this, but he was talking about the whole situation with Bryce Harper telling Rob Manfred to get the bleep out of the locker room, okay? Because they don't want a salary cap.
Right. They don't want restrictions on how much they can make.
To which my mind went to this because they were talking about Passan and the host of the podcast, a guy named John Arand. We're talking about how normally fans side with the players. But it seems like in this instance, they're kind of siding with the owners a little bit here in this situation. Because the competitive balance situation is becoming a problem. You have the Dodgers $350 million payroll, and you have, Tampa, Pittsburgh not spending anything. To which my thought was this. If you're Bryce Harper or you're anybody else, don't you have enough self-pride to want the sport to be competitive? You're playing a sport where there's like 6 teams that have a legitimate chance. The whole point of the salary cap is so that your road to the World Series includes more teams.
What
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for Harper's standpoint, he's fighting for the future players.
But see, that's the problem, and that is they are putting out this aura that, see, we're standing up for the future of the game, when they're not looking at the fact that the future of the game is dependent on everyone being successful, not just one group of people.
See, and they're saying, the way that I'm looking at this is if I'm the players, you're still making your money. I mean, is Bryce Harper making $300 million contract? I don't know. I don't know what the salary cap will be. But Bryce Harper and the rest of these guys with the salary cap situation have to look at their game and say, are we basically killing off 70% of our league because they can't compete? That's what he has to look at with this next CBA. Not look out for yourself as much as the game.
Right.
Can I grow the game by the salary cap? Now, we might have to decide on what the salary cap is so I can still make my $300 million contract. And the salary cap might be, whatever, $225 million, whatever it might be.
Can you meet in the middle and do a salary floor where you force these teams to
Passan
spend
believes that the word floor and cap will never come together, that will never happen. Now, he believes 98% chance, 99% chance there will be a work stoppage after next season.
But see, that's part of the problem. That is, if the sides can't come to an agreement and there's a work stoppage, how does the work stoppage help baseball?
Doesn't, but that's what, and Passan's believes that they'll have a work stoppage, but it'll be an off-season work stoppage that they won't miss any games. He thinks there's like a 50% chance or maybe less that they have a work stoppage and that it carries into the regular season. Because one of his big points in this was the fact that they need to get their television deal worked out.
Right.
So that's another problem.
But another report over the weekend, right, about the TV rights?
Yeah, because I was staying last night, by the way, watching the Little League Classic. That's a Sunday night baseball game. There's a good possibility that they might not have another Little League Classic.
That's true.
Because if ESPN doesn't get the deal, who sets up that Little League Classic? I mean, I don't know who came up with it and who airs it and all that stuff, but I think that game is one of the great moments of the season when they do that Little League Classic.
Yeah, even a curmudgeon like me enjoys it.
It's awesome. I mean, that thing's
cool.
awesome. I've actually been to that stadium. It is tiny. It only fits, I think it only sits like 2,000.
Yeah, it's only a few thousand people.
And it's really all kids. I mean, I don't think you can be
Well,
as
that's the
public.
cool part, and that is you have the remaining 16 teams all get to sit there and hang out with big league ball players. Like it's an experience of a lifetime, and it might go away because MLB and ESPN can't get on the same page, just like Manfred and Bryce Harper can.
It is 2,300 is the capacity of that field. 2,300. I've driven by there before. It's right across the street. So where they do the Little League World Series is in South Williamsport. So it's about a 10-minute drive away from where this is.
Right. The Major League Stadium is across the street from the original.
Little League field where they first had the first Little League World Series is across the street from this place. Yeah.
By the way, Mike, just to let you know, in order for the Phillies to have their current payroll, the salary cap would need to be at least $288 million.
That's a lot. 225, they can figure it out. Put up 225, make a floor of, whatever, 100 million. The game would be better. These guys would all get paid.
And you know what? The Brewers' payroll is $113 million.
Well,
so
and
good
that's
for them.
one of the battles here is they're saying in the regular season there are teams that are low payrolls that are competing.
Good for them.
But none of them have won a World Series. Minnesota, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Tampa. They're not winning World Series. They're winning regular season a lot. So that's the battle. What's more important, that you're a good regular season team and that you have a chance to win the World Series? Or is that a facade that you're really not good enough to win the World Series? Because most of those teams are playing in middle America markets where they're competing against teams that also don't spend money.
Right.
And that's where, like the Central Division, you got Chicago, a big market, playing against Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, and they're not spending any money. That's why the Cubs should be good every year. That's why the White Sox should be good every year, and that's crazy that they're not. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. We're live at the Fanatics Sportsbook. Final thoughts on the show coming up next right here on 97.3 ESPN. Getting ready to get out of here. This hour was brought to you by White Horse RV Center in Williamstown and Galloway, live at the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City every Monday. We're back here at Fanatics.
Quick PSA for everyone out there. Monday Night Raw is in Philadelphia tonight at the Xfinity Mobile Arena, as it were. So if you're going out there.
Colin LBI says Harper's dead wrong with this whole salary cap issue. Arbitration is ruining the sport. Teams sacrifice 2 to 3 years at the beginning of someone's career so a team can have a player's prime on the cheap. Then let him try free agency at 30. It's killed the middle ground and killed teams bringing up young players earlier. Cole's right about that.
That is a good point.
Yeah, well, listen, you get like all these guys on controllable years. They don't want the clock to start. Just play the best guys. Like, you don't see the NBA not playing a rookie because, or the NFL. Can you imagine drafting a guy in the first round? He was ready, but you didn't play him because you didn't want his clock to start. Just think about that. You know, that happens a lot in baseball where they just say, you know what? You know, it happened. I remember when the Cubs, Chris Bryant, wasn't it Chris Bryant with the Cubs?
Yeah, the third baseman. They
Where
also
did
did it with Rizzo, too.
Yeah, it's baseball needs a big change in all that with the way the game is structured to make it. And like I say, like Bryce Harper, you should want the Marlins and the Reds and the Pirates and all these teams that just don't spend. You should want them to be competitive. Like, it should put more pressure. Realistically, it should put more pressure on the Phillies that they spend $300 million payroll and they can't win. You know, we used to rip the Yankees all the time when they were the one team spending so much money and nobody else. It's like, yeah, you should win. That's the way we should be looking at the Phillies. There should be more pressure on the Phillies because they do spend money and still can't get the job done. Bryce Harper should be thinking about that. Back tomorrow. Sports Bash. Phil's tonight. Suarez and Gilbert. We'll recap it all tomorrow on the Sports Bash.